Douluo, at the beginning, I signed with the martial spirit of the god of death. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226 Summary. Bibi Dong, a character in the otherworldly continental fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, the last pope of the Wuhan Palace, the founding queen and the last emperor of the Wuhan Empire. 1, 2, a first-level god, Rakshasa god, the third person to become a god on Douluo continent in 2 years. 3, 4, and one of the 10 killing gods in the Killing City. 5. Twin spirits of Death Spider Emperor and Soul Devouring Spider Emperor. 6, 7. The second twin spirits in history. 8. The first person to solve the problem of the additional attributes of the twin spirits, multiple spirit rings exceeding the body's endurance limit. 9, 10. The youngest title Douluo before Tang San, and the youngest peak level peerless Douluo at level 99. 4. Chinese name Bibi Dong alias Saint, Pope, Queen, Rakshasa god Debing Lin Su. Animation. 11. Gender female. Debut works Douluo and its derivative works. 12, 13, 14. Character relationships Jinring Su daughter Jinring Su, a character in the otherworldly continent fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, is the fallen angel god, the daughter of Pope Bibi Dong herself of the Wuhan Palace and the former Pope Jin Zunji. Wuhan is a seraph. She once disguised as Zhu King, the crown prince of the Xiandao Empire, and lurked around Emperor Zhu. Killed Bibi Dong. Why didn't she activate the immortal golden body at that time? 1.4 plays 405 Douluo, the mystery of Bibi Dong becoming a god. 2.1 plays 148. It's also a divine test. Why is it that Bibi Dong Jinring Su has nothing, but Tang San has all been upgraded to red rings? 9837 play 3 o'clock. Bibi Dong's 2 10-year-old soul beasts were cut off. In a rage, Bibi Dong almost killed Zhu. Douluo 31.4 plays 327. The sea god Tang San is resurrected and fights against the Rakshasa god Bibi Dong and the angel god Jinring Su again. 6862 play 252. Douluo continent, Bibi Dong led the 6 title Douluo into battle, met Tang San, and 2 title Douluo died. 1.6 plays 219 Douluo. The Rakshasa god didn't give Bibi Dong any benefits, so why did it take her 20 years to inherit? 1.1 plays 247. Tang San fights Bibi Dong rings again, and the Tang army begins to attack the Holy Dragon army. 1.1 plays 302. Tang San and Xiao Wu were arrested. Bibi Dong, Tang San, just wait for the trial of the Spirit Empire. 6731 play 141. With the same 4 10-year-old spirit, why couldn't Tang San defeat Bibi Dong? Developmental delay is a flaw. More related chart characters in the novel Douluo. A total of 124 entries and 14.1 readings. Tang San is the male protagonist in the Douluo series of fantasy novels about otherworldly continents written by the third son of the Tang family. In his previous life, he was a disciple of the outer sect of the Tang sect. He secretly learned the secret knowledge of the inner sect Zhuangtian Baolu and was a disciple of the Tang sect. Little Dance Xiao Wu, the heroine in the Bibi Dong, is the youngest pope in the history of the Spirit Hall. She is known as the most powerful leader in the history of the Spirit Hall. 9, and the most outstanding pope in history. 17. She is the founder and first empress of the Spirit Empire. 1, 2, and one of the killing gods of the Slaughter City. 18. The second person in history to have twin spirits. 8. The first person to resolve the backlash of twin spirits. 10. The youngest title Douluo and the youngest peak. 99 Douluo before Tang San. 19. Because the Spirit Hall had hunted down Tang San's mother, the 100,000-year blue-silver Emperor Yin, and Xiao Wu's mother, the 100,000-year soft-bone rabbit. 20, 21. The Spirit Empire's steps to unify the continent were blocked by the Tang sect. 22. In the end, Bibi Dong died in Jialing Pass, and the Spirit Empire perished too. A total of 7 animated image appearance and clothing. Pope of Wuhan Palace. Bibi Dong was not tall, and the bright golden long dress fit perfectly from head to toe. The dazzling dress shone with precious lights, and there were more than 100 red, blue and gold gemstones on it. The 9 curved purple gold crown on the top of the head is even more glorious, and he holds a 2-meter-long scepter inlaid with countless precious stones. Fair skin and almost perfect face make her look so different, especially the intangible nobility and holiness that exudes from the body. it is even more unbearable to give birth to the emotion of worship. Content: understand the Rakshasa god on Douluo in 1 minute. 229.4 million 52 Bibidong characters in the fantasy novel Douluo. This entry is polysemous, with a total of 3 meanings. Expand featured entries. This entry is edited and maintained in accordance with the featured entry guidelines. Contributing maintainer Bayun Uiu Snow Night Flower Bibidong, a character in the otherworldly continental fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, the last pope of the Wuhan Palace, the founding queen and the last emperor of the Wuhan Empire. 1. 2. A first-level god, Rakshasa god, the third person to become a god on Douluo continent in 2 years. 3. 4. And one of the 10 killing gods in the Killing City. 5. Twin spirits: Death Spider Emperor and Soul Devouring Spider Emperor. 6. 7. The second twin spirits in history. 8. The first person to solve the problem of having multiple spirit rings with twin spirits having attributes that exceed the body's endurance limit. 9. 10. The youngest title Douluo before Tang San, and the youngest peak level peerless Douluo at level 99. 4. Chinese name Bibidong alias Saint, Pope, Queen, Rakshasa god Debing Lin Su. Animation. 11. Gender female. Debut works Douluo and its derivative works. 12. 13. 14. Character relationships: Jinring Su daughter Jinring Su, a character in the otherworldly continent fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, is the fallen angel god, the daughter of Pope Bibidong herself of the Wuhan Palace and the former Pope Jin Zunji. Wuhan is a seraph. She once disguised as Zhu King, the crown prince of the Xiandao Empire, and lurked around Emperor Zhu. Killed Bibidong. Why didn't she activate the immortal golden body at that time? 1.4 plays 405 Douluo, the mystery of Bibidong becoming a god. 2.1 plays 148. It's also a divine test. Why is it that Bibidong Jinring Su has nothing, but Tang San has all been upgraded to red rings? 9837 play 3 o'clock. Bibidong's 2 10-year-old soul beasts were cut off. In a rage, Bibidong almost killed Zhu. Douluo 31.4 plays 327. The sea god Tang San is resurrected and fights against the Rakshasa god Bibidong and the angel god Jinring Su again. 6862 play 252. Douluo continent, Bibidong led the 6 title Douluo into battle, met Tang San, and 2 title Douluo died. 1.6 plays 219. Douluo, the Rakshasa god didn't give Bibidong any benefits, so why did it take her 20 years to inherit? 1.1 plays 247. Tang San fights Bibidong rings again, and the Tang army begins to attack the Holy Dragon army. 1.1 plays 302. Tang San and Xiao Wu were arrested. Bibidong, Tang San, just wait for the trial of the Spirit Empire. 6731 play 141. With the same 4 10-year-old spirit, why couldn't Tang San defeat Bibidong? Developmental delay is a flaw. More related chart characters in the novel Douluo. Chapter 227 New Journey. Working on coding. Just refresh later. Death is the god in ancient Greek mythology, the god of death, who lives in Hades. The Grim Reaper often wears a black cloak and holds a huge scythe in his hand. Ruled by Hades, the king of the underworld. In the imagination of ancient people, sleep and death were twin brothers. Hesiod believed that they were both children of the night and lived in Hades. They came to the earth from Hades and quietly approached people in the world. Chinese name Grim Reaper, foreign name Reaper alias Reaper. Myth system Greek mythology residents Hades related videos. 5.7 plays 207. Why do all the Western gods of death hold sickles in their hands? 3.5 plays 049. Learn about the ancient Greek mythological figure Death in 1 minute. Fast navigation. Death weapons character experience. Sleep is a gentle and friendly god, while death is cold and cruel. This is mainly the further conception of sleep and death by later poets and artists. In addition, people also completely separate death from sleep in an unfriendly way. They either imagine the cruel god of death as a very terrifying goddess, Kern, originally just the soul of the dead. Luo, Artemis and Pluto and Persephone in Hades were imagined as the gods of death. The Romans also introduced a personified god of death from the Etruscans, whom they called Orcus, imagining him as a heavily armed soldier who brought death to mankind. None of these gods of death had any profound significance either in worship or in the art world. The art world's efforts to soften the horrific image of death led to an increasing resemblance between Thanatos, death, and his brother Hypnos, sleep. The most famous is the story of Sisyphus. According to Homer's epic poem, Sisyphus was the most resourceful and ingenious man on earth. He was the founder and king of Corinth when Zeus abducted Aegina, the daughter of the river god Sisyphus. The river god went to Corinth to look for her daughter. Sisyphus, who knew this, told her in exchange for a river that flowed all year round. Because Zeus's secrets were revealed, Zeus sent the god of death to escort him to hell unexpectedly. Sisyphus used a trick to kidnap the god of death, causing no one to die in the world for a long time until the god of death was rescued, and Sisyphus was cast into the underworld. Before being cast into the underworld, Sisyphus asked his wife Merope not to bury his body after arriving in the underworld. Sisyphus told Persephone, queen of the underworld, that a person who has not been buried is not qualified to stay in the underworld, and asked for 3 days to take leave to deal with his funeral affairs unexpectedly. As soon as Sisyphus saw the beautiful earth, he refused to leave and did not want to return to Hades after his death. Sisyphus was sentenced to being pushed up a mountain. He wanted to push a big stone to the other side of the top of the mountain, but due to the weight of the stone, every time he pushed it to the top of the mountain, the stone would roll back down. Sisyphus could only repeat it over and over again. Basically, this is a famous story both in mythology and literature. The power of Danaus, the god of death, can only affect mortals as an immortal being. God is not subject to any influence from death as such. Death often endures the hatred of mortals as well as the rejection of gods. Death is also controlled by the 3 goddesses of fate. Death weapons in the West, people often call curved swords sickles. In Greek mythology, the god Cronus used a sickle to cut off the genitals of his father, the primitive god Uranus. Later, the former was defeated by his son Zeus's thunder and lightning and was deposed and exiled. The sickle has always been the symbol of Cronus, Latin Saturn, also known as Saturn. He was regarded as the god of fertility before ancient Greece. Later, people confused him with the name of Cronus, the incarnation of time, so the image of Cronus holding a sickle, or scythe, has become a symbol of the passage of time. In this sense, the sickle has become a symbol of death, and it is natural for the god of death to choose it as a weapon. Chen Luo, a character in the otherworldly mainland fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, the protector Douluo of the Kibao glazed sect, the honorary elder of Wuhan Palace, the 97th level peak Douluo of the attack system, titled sword. The martial spirit is the 7-killing sword, known as the most powerful title Douluo in attack, and is engraved on the papal decree as the representative of the 7 treasures glazed sect. 1. Chinese name Dusty alias Sword Douluo. 2. Sword Dao Chengxin. 3. Dubbing Guinan, animation. 4. Male debut works Douluo and its derivative works related videos. 3.5 plays 227. Sword Douluo revealed that his father's soul power once reached level 98, but he was seriously injured and died by the demigod Kai and Aeolio. 2.4 plays 135. Douluo takes stock of Sword Douluo's 3 most critical moves, otherwise Douluo would have ended long ago. 6077 play 209. The relationship between the Sword Douluo family and Wuhan Palace. 5946 play 104. Douluo, the master's words prove how strong the sword is. 6879 play 258. Who do you think will win in a fight between Chen Dao Chenzin and Tang Xiao? 8562 play 230. The Shrek 7 Monsters Road to Becoming Gods. Sword Douluo learns that Ningfengzi is level 99. 1.9 plays 202. After Sword Douluo's death, it wasn't that no soul bones fell, but because Ningfengzi didn't dare to dig. 6711 play 207. The 2 empires are in a life and death crisis. Why don't they bring level 97 Sword Douluo as bodyguards? 5953 play 110. Why can Tang Hao's broken arm be repaired, but Sword Douluo is left alone? These 2 reasons are important. 1.1 plays 138. Douluo, these 4 title Douluo can't beat Sword Douluo alone. Sword Douluo is really strong. More related chart characters in the novel Douluo. A total of 124 entries and 14.1 readings. Tang San is the male protagonist in the Douluo series of fantasy novels about otherworldly continents written by the third son of the Tang family. In his previous life, he was a disciple of the outer sect of the Tang sect. He secretly learned the secret knowledge of the inner sect Zhuangtian Baolu and was a disciple of the Tang sect. Little Dance Xiao Wu, the heroine in the Douluo series of fantasy novels about otherworldly continents written by the third son of the Tang family, is a 10-year-old soul beast, the soft-bone rabbit, who has been rebuilt into a human being. One of the first Shrek 7 monsters, age-ranking Daimube. Daimube is a character in the series of fantasy novels Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family. One of the first Shrek 7 monsters, the eldest in age, and possessing the martial spirit white more fast navigation character ability interpersonal relationship role experience role evaluation character image identity background Chen Xin is the sky. Supporting white jade pillar of the Kibao glazed sect and the purple golden beam of the Jihai. It is one of the two protective gods of the sect. The Kibao glazed sect has always been able to rank among the best among the 7 major sects. Although it is related to its own super auxiliary martial spirit, it is absolutely inseparable from the support of 2 titled Douluo Chen Xin and Gu Rong. 7. At the level of titled Douluo, others are accustomed to calling him Sword Dao Chen Xin. Having been immersed in the martial spirit of his long sword all his life, there are definitely not many people who dare to compare with him in terms of attack power. 3. Appearance and clothing Chen Xin looks like an old man, wearing a spotless snow-white robe, with white beard and hair. His long silver hair is neatly combed behind his back. He has a simple appearance, his face is as delicate as a baby, his expression is very indifferent, and his eyes seem to be unable to see anything around him. It looked like something, but it just stood there quietly and didn't speak. But just standing there, he still gave people a feeling that he was the only one in the universe. Chen Xin's voice is like a sharp blade, cutting everyone's heart. 9, 10, 3. Chapter 228 Sword Tomb. Long or short, Chen Luo stayed in the Star Dao Forest for nearly half a year. In the past 6 months, Chen Luo basically spent his time practicing. The things he experienced in the boneyard were so rich that he needed a lot of time to digest and absorb them. The energy absorption is completed very quickly, but it takes a lot of time for things to turn into experience. In addition to practicing, Chen Luo stayed with Xiao Wu and played with Xiao Wu in the place where she grew up. The scenery of Xingdao Forest is also very good. Watch the sunrise with Xiao Wu, watch the sunset with Xiao Wu, and at night we can lie together in the wooden house to watch the stars and the moon. It is a very comfortable and pleasant life, which is equivalent to spending time with Xiao Wu. Dancing as if on honeymoon. Xiao Wu also worked hard. The time for the two of them to play was actually very limited, and most of the time was spent practicing. I don't know since when Xiao Wu has been working so hard. Her soul power level has now reached level 52, which is getting closer and closer to level. She is already considered a leader at this age. At least, compared to the golden generation of Wuhan Palace, they have been completely crushed. In addition to Xiao Wu's efforts, it also has a great relationship with the fairy grass Hunil Ginseng Emperor that Xiao Wu had eaten before. After all, it is an immortal grass level existence. The energy provided by the Hunil Ginseng Emperor is still very large. With Xiao Wu's efforts, he successfully absorbed all the energy of the Hunil Ginseng Emperor. This can be regarded as an increase in Xiao Wu's soul power level. One of the reasons for rapidity. You must know that Xiao Wu was only over level 40 when he participated in the Advanced Soul Master Elite competition. Now he has successfully passed the threshold of Soul King and reached level 52. The speed of improvement is already terrifying. Chen Luo and Xiao Wu's arrangements for the past 6 months were indeed comparable to their honeymoon, but Chen Luo's undead soul suffered a lot. They ate dog food every day, and in the end they became completely numb and got used to Xiao Wu. The way she looked with Chen Luonian. The undead are also working very hard. Most of the undead have also spent their time in cultivation. After being reborn, they work harder than before. Especially Gong's Honggang, even though he usually laughs and laughs, he has never been ambiguous when it comes to cultivation. Becoming undead meant that Gong's Honggang and the others had lost their freedom, but they also gained a chance to live again and a better starting point for their struggle. Their previous talents were very limited, and they had almost reached the end of their lifelong struggle. Even if they didn't die, they would be like that for the rest of their lives, and they would be the strongest at that level. The exception is Gong's Honggang. This evil soul master swordsman genius committed suicide by himself. Yu Yao and Wei Liang Hao have reached the upper limit of their talents. One is a soul Douluo and the other is a soul saint. In fact, they have reached a height that countless people cannot reach in their lifetime. But for those who want to continue to work hard, only just started. After becoming undead, Yu Yao and Wei Liang Hao had the opportunity to grow again. After following Chen Luo for such a long time, Yu Yao and Wei Liang Hao's strength had improved. Each of them is working hard to seize new opportunities, and there is no emotion like anger. Compared to dying with nothing, the current situation is undoubtedly the best outcome for them. Moreover, Chen Luo also respects them very much. Although everyone calls Chen Luo the boss, Chen Luo basically doesn't have the airs of a boss or a master, and treats all the undead as their seniors. As long as Gong's Hongyang and the others want to, Chen Luo will give them absolute freedom to play freely. As long as they don't do anything harmful to nature, they still have freedom. Of course, not all undead are so diligent. For example, Guang's Huangfei, who has reached the peak of level 97 peak Douluo, and Black Curse, who has the strength of level 95 peak Douluo, seem to be very leisurely, rarely spending time in cultivation, and basically playing in the Star Dao Forest. For them, they are already at the top of the world, and if they move forward, it will be like that. Besides, they can't move forward any further. The other undead souls spend most of their time practicing, but they occasionally go out to play, and their lives are basically quite comfortable. Today is the day when Chen Luo and the others are leaving the Star Dao Forest. Half a year has been long enough, and it is time to go see the outside world. You are leaving today. Will you be reluctant to leave Ming and Star Dao Forest? In the early morning, Chen Luo and Xiao Wu hugged each other and lay lazily on the bed. Chen Luo asked softly. Xiao Wu nodded slightly. There must be some reluctance, but I am already very satisfied. From the day I left the Star Dao Forest, I never thought that I would be able to come back and live for such a long time, and it would not affect my ability to continue living in the Star Dao Forest. Experience in the human world, because of you, everything changed and allowed me to live a life I never imagined. With you here, I am very happy every day. Saying that, Xiao Wu kissed Chen Luo gently on the face. Chen Luo, I keep working hard so that we can live the life we want. The life we are living now is indeed very comfortable, but we cannot slack off and continue to work hard. After leaving the Star Dao Forest, we will go to the Sword Tomb recommended by Senior Gong's Hongfei. It certainly exists there. It's dangerous, but it also has unimaginable benefits. The reason why I have the strength I have today is to go out to experience, fight, and gain again and again. Well, please take me with you from now on. I have always regretted that I could not accompany you to practice together before. Xiao Wu said softly. Chen Luo nodded. I didn't take you with me before because I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't even sure how to protect myself. How could I let you go on an adventure with me? Now, although my strength is not top-notch, I still have a certain level of strength, and there are a group of powerful undead seniors around me. With them, I can ensure your safety. Yes. Xiao Wu leaned close to Chen Luo's arms. Daming, we are leaving, you have to take care of yourselves. Before leaving, Xiao Wu said hello to the Azure Bull Python and the Titan Ape. Both the Azure Ox Python and the Titan Ape had smiles on their faces. There was definitely reluctance, but they were more relieved. Sister Xiao Wu, I hope you will be stronger when we meet next time. Tian Qing Niu Python said with a smile. The Titan Giant Ape looked at Chen Luo. He originally wanted to say something, but after glancing at Gong's Hongfei, Heiju and the others, he suddenly felt that those words were a bit redundant, so he stopped talking. His eyes fell on Xiao Wu again, and the Titan Ape grinned. Have a nice trip. Chapter 229 Encountering Tang 3. Small Lake. The Azure Ox Python looked at the direction Xiao Wu was leaving and asked the Titan Giant Ape with a smile, aren't you going to see off Sister Xiao Wu? I feel like it's not necessary anymore. The Titan Giant Ape shrugged. There are so many strong humans around her, and she doesn't need me to escort her at all. I stay with them, but I still feel unsafe. It's good for them to live here, but I can't sleep well every night. Today they left, but I'm a little happy. I can finally sleep well. The Azure Bull Python was immediately amused by the Titan Ape's words. Look at how useless you are. The Titan Giant Ape sighed. I don't want to be so useless, but the key point is that they are too strong. The guy named Gong's Hongfei is even more ridiculously strong. I feel that he can kill us both by himself. The other people are not simple. There are several at the title Douluo level, and there are also soul beasts with tens of thousands of years of age. None of those soul beasts are simple. They are obviously weaker than me, but they are always gives me a very dangerous feeling. Tell me, how can I sleep well in such an environment? He is Sister Xiao Wu's friend. Tian Qing Niu Python said with a smile. The Titan Ape rolled his eyes. Don't tell me about the haves and aunts. I have never believed in humans. If they weren't too strong, I would prefer to believe in my fists and beat them up first. I am absolutely honest and I am absolutely assured, Sister Xiao Wu and Chen Luo are obviously no longer just friends. I think Sister Xiao Wu is already Chen Luo's person. It is precisely because of this relationship that I have resisted escaping from here. Tian Qing Niu Python smiled and said, weren't you very confident before? You always felt that you were invincible. Why have you become so insecure now? The Titan Giant Ape sighed, confidence must also be based on the environment you are in, okay? In the environment where those guys exist, I don't believe you can sleep well every day. You probably secretly observe them in the middle of the night like me. I used to be very confident. I always felt that I was the most powerful being in the world. But after that time, I can never regain the confidence I had before. As he said that, the Titan Ape's eyes lit up became dimmed. Azure Bull Python let out a long sigh of relief, unknowingly, so many years have passed. The Titan Giant Ape said, it is almost impossible for us two brothers to seek revenge. We can only place our hopes on Sister Xiao. Sister Xiao did not disappoint us. She worked harder than we expected. She obviously likes to play so much, but she is also able to calm down and practice hard. Azure Bull Python said, it must have something to do with that incident. Hatred can often make people stronger. But I also think that the reason why Sister Xiao works so hard has something to do with Chen Luo. This is a good thing. The Titan Ape said from the bottom of his heart. The Azure Bull Python nodded slightly, then smiled and asked, don't you distrust human beings? The Titan Giant Ape said, but I believe in Sister Xiao. Senior Gongzhongfei will lead the way from now on. I'm sorry to bother you. At the edge of the Star Dao forest, Chen Luo looked at Gongzhongfei and said. Gongzhongfei nodded slightly, no problem. Then he said, are you sure you don't want to take a good rest? Then we went to the burial ground. I've had a break for half a year, which is enough. Gongzhongfei said, your ability has never let me down. You have consolidated your strength in such a short period of time. I think only you can do it. Gongzhongfei said, brother, you don't know something about this. The boss has actually completed the consolidation of his strength a long time ago. He just lives with Xiao in the Star Dao forest. It is rare for Xiao to return to her parents' home, so of course she has to stay a little longer. After saying that, Gongzhongfei looked at Chen Luo and Xiao. Really, boss? Chen Luo just smiled and said nothing, while Xiao blushed and lowered her head slightly. Gongzhongfei chose to ignore Gongzhongfei. Let's set off now. Okay. Chen Luo nodded. Chen Luo's strength has always been a mystery. Even Gongzhongfei and the others can't see Chen Luo's true strength now, unless Chen Luo fully displays his strength in front of them. Although Gongzhongfei and the others were powerful, they could only see a layer of mist when they sensed Chen Luo's changes in strength. No matter how strong their perception was, they could not completely penetrate that layer of mist and perceive Chen Luo's true strength. It was precisely because of this situation that Gongzhongfei always thought that Chen Luo stayed in the Star Dao forest for half a year just to rest. The other undead people basically thought the same. Only Gongzhongfei seemed to have seen through everything and was very confident in Chen Luo's strength. Even though they were powerful, Chen Luo and the others were very low-key. After leaving the Star Dao forest, they all used the simplest way to head towards the sword tomb mentioned by Gongzhongfei. The main reason is that flying with a sword is too high profile, which will inevitably cause some unnecessary trouble. The location of the sword tomb required passing through the capital of slaughter. Chen Luo and his group stopped and walked, and it didn't take long to reach the vicinity of the capital of slaughter. They all have relatively strong strength, and it is not easy to travel. If Chen Luo and the others risk everything and ride Gongzhongfei's demon-slaying sword towards the sword tomb, they might have arrived by now. Arriving near the killing city, Chen Luo's mind flashed through all the scenes he experienced when he experienced the killing city. He was Gongzhongfei whom he met in the killing city, and he also acquired Yu Yao and Wei Liang Hao, and he began to rapidly expand his undead team. Those experiences in the killing city are still vivid in Chen Luo's mind, as if they happened yesterday. The continuous killings make him wander on the edge of being lost every day. Killing is the most normal thing in the killing city. The important thing is to maintain an absolutely firm heart and not get lost in the killing. Chen Luo did it and successfully obtained the killing god domain, got everything he wanted, and gained additional gains. Among them, Gongzhongfei has a large part of the credit. Although this evil soul master swordsman genius is very good at swordsmanship, he is still good at interpersonal relationships. At least Gongzhongfei has an elder brother who values him very much. Although Gongzhongfei always spoke harshly of Gongzhongfei, In his heart he valued Gong Zhongyang more than anyone else. Otherwise, the grass in front of Chen Luo's grave in the killing city would have been at least 3 meters high. Every time I retravel the path I have taken, it always brings back memories that evoke the corners of my mouth unconsciously. Chen Luo and the others did not go back to their hometown in the killing capital, but took the time to continue on their way towards the sword tomb. There was also an episode during which Chen Luo and the others met Tang San. Tang San is here, so naturally Tang Hao is also there. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230 The Only Friend. Unknown Town. Chen Luo and his group were eating and resting in the hotel when suddenly two smells caught their attention. The first person to sense it was not Gong Zhongfei, nor Black Curse, nor Aaron, the nine-tailed demon fox with equally powerful perception. But Chen Luo. Yes, it was Chen Luo. After experiencing the bone burial ground, Chen Luo's soul power increased tremendously, and his perception and other aspects were greatly improved. In terms of perception alone, even Gong Zhongfei, who is at the peak Douluo level, cannot compare to Chen Luo. A titled Douluo came to the town. Arlene spoke first. A boy from the Haoshan sect. Gong Zhongfei said. Chen Luo nodded slightly. Yes, it's Tang Hao. Tang Hao. Xiao Wu looked a little surprised. Tang San's father, then Tang San should be here, right? When mentioning Tang Hao, Xiao Wu's tone was not good, and she didn't seem to be cold to Tang Hao. Even when talking about Tang San, Xiao Wu's tone still seemed a bit cold. During the Senior Soul Master Elite competition, Tang Hao once had an idea for Xiao Wu, and Xiao Wu also knew about it. Xiao Wu never trusts any human being, except Chen Luo. Soul beasts are inherently hostile to soul masters, and this hostility becomes more obvious towards the more powerful soul masters. Xiao Wu seemed to have completely integrated into the human world, but her bones were still filled with the instinctive thoughts of spirit beasts. Only Chen Luo could make Xiao Wu completely let go of those obsessions. Yes, Tang San is here too. Chen Luo gave an accurate answer. How did they come here? Xiao Wu asked subconsciously. Chen Luo said, it should be that he plans to go to the killing city. Gong Zhongfei smiled. That boy from the Haoshan sect is so strong now, and he has actually reached the level of title Douluo. He is worthy of being the existence I recognized back then. After so many years, it's really interesting that he has brought his own kid to the killing city. During the Senior Soul Master Elite competition, because Gong Zhongfei was making a breakthrough, he did not meet Tang Hao. This was the first time. You can hear some appreciation in Gong Zhongfei's tone, and he seems to have a good feeling for Tang Hao. He should also feel our presence and is approaching in our direction. Black Curse said. As long as you use your senses to explore things, you will inevitably be sensed by the other party. After all, Tang Hao is also a titled Douluo level being. Even if his perception is not particularly strong, he still has a relatively keen ability to capture things. It can be seen that this Haoshan Douluo is also relatively cautious. Even if he noticed some clues, he did not go straight to the answer, but chose to cautiously come closer and wait. Tang Hao finally took Tang San to a hotel near Chen Luo and the others, and took the initiative to use his perception to investigate Chen Luo and the others. Gong Zhongfei admired Tang Hao's words verbally, but when faced with Tang Hao's investigation, he showed no mercy and seemed very tough. He directly responded with more powerful mental power. Although Tang Hao was not seriously injured, it also caused Tang Hao to suffer some damage, at least the indescribable pain was there. The talent is pretty good, but it's a pity that it's gone. He's only a little better than that good-for-nothing Gong Zhonggang. I don't know what he's been through. Gong Zhongfei said very calmly, without any emotion in his voice, and all the previous appreciation had disappeared. Gong Zhonggang suddenly laughed ferociously and said, how about we kill him and let the boss wake him up? Then we will have another super powerful undead spirit. Brother, you said that he is already useless. As long as he dies once and is revived by the boss, everything will change. After you were reborn, you broke through your limits. After I was reborn, I found my former self. Gong Zhonggang said very excitedly, but his voice gradually became smaller as he spoke. Finally, Gong Zhonggang smiled and said, ha ha ha, I was just joking. How could the boss do such a thing? If the boss really did that, he would be no different from an evil soul master. Duan Xiao glared at Gong Zhongyang and said coldly, "You are the only one who talks too much?" Gong Zhongyang then laughed awkwardly, "Ha ha ha, yes, I talk too much?" Chen Luo looked at Xiao Wu next to him and asked with a smile, "Would you like to go over and say hello to Tang San?" Xiao Wu looked very indifferent. "I'm not very familiar with him, so it's not necessary. If you want to go, I'll accompany you. Tang San seems to be quite nice to you. If he had been a girl, maybe I would have been the extra person back then." Chen Luo couldn't help but smile. "Is it as exaggerated as you said?" "It's really not an exaggeration at all. Tang San always leaves good things to you every time. Those hidden weapons and other things, all the good ones are given to you. What we get is always several levels behind. Isn't this a gap? Those hidden weapons are all his hard work, but he is willing to give all of his hard work to you. He even wrote the instruction manual for the hidden weapons specifically for you. He just didn't teach you how to make the hidden weapons. Sometimes I even doubt whether Tang San has that kind of intention for you." The corner of Chen Luo's mouth twitched slightly. "The more you say it, the more exaggerated it becomes, and the more you say it, the more outrageous it becomes." Xiao Wu chuckled, "Everything I said is true." "Okay, let's go over and take a look," Chen Luo said. There are some exaggerations in what Xiao Wu said, but they are also true. Tang San was indeed very kind to Chen Luo, always leaving the best for Chen Luo. Chen Luo's death bracelet also contained many hidden weapons that Tang San gave him and instructions for use written by Tang San himself. This kind of treatment, none of the other Shrek monsters have it. It's just that Chen Luo rarely used Tang San's hidden weapons, and he was only temporarily interested in using them occasionally. As of now, he has never used Tang San's hidden weapons in battle. It wasn't that Chen Luo looked down on Tang San's hidden weapons. The main reason was that he didn't have that much time to study and use them. In the past, there was really no time, and all Chen Luo's time was tightly scheduled. Now that he has time, Chen Luo can no longer use Tang San's hidden weapons. Even if Tang San created super powerful hidden weapons like the Buddhist Fury Tang Lotus, Chen Luo wouldn't be able to use it. "Do you really want to go there?" Xiao Wu looked reluctant. She just said that Chen Luo was going and would go with Chen Luo. Chen Luo did not force Xiao Wu, "Then don't go, just wait here for me to come back." Chen Luo could tell that Xiao Wu didn't like Tang Hao and Tang San. The relationship between Xiao Wu and Tang San had always been relatively ordinary, and they could only be regarded as ordinary friends. When Chen Luo set off, Tang San also set off. "There are unpredictable dangers over there, and I can't guarantee your safety," Tang Hao said in a deep voice. Tang San just smiled slightly. "There is no danger over there, only my only friend." Chapter 231 Fengla E Mountain. Coding, just refresh later. Tang Chen, a character in the otherworldly continent fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, the previous sect leader of the Haoshan sect, the inheritor of the Shura god, and the killing king of the city of killing martial spirit Haoshan Hammer, a level 99 attack type demigod peerless Douluo, titled Haoshan, 15, and nicknamed Invincible on the Ground, 21. Tang Chen and Jin Daoliu, the adjudicator elder of Wuhan Palace, are known as the two mountains in the Soul Master world. They once traveled to Poseidon Island 10, together and fell in love with Bosaixi, the high priest of Poseidon Island because he misunderstood the meaning of Bosaixi's obscure confession. Tang Chen made a promise: "I will never return until I become a god." 11. Tang Chen found the inheritance of God Shura in the city of killing, but was defeated by the secret hand of God Rakshasa in the assessment and was parasitized by the blood-red nine-headed bat king, became the killing king of the killing city. 15. 1, 10, 15, 99, 15. Contents: 1 role image, identity, background, appearance and clothing, character traits, 2 character abilities, martial soul, secret skill, field artifact, 3 interpersonal relationships, 4 role experience, Haoshan Douluo, promise of becoming a god king of killing immortal soul, 5 role evaluation, character image, editing and broadcasting, identity, background. Tang Chen is the leader of the Haoshan sect. He is the most powerful Haoshan Douluo in the history of the Haoshan sect and leads the sect to the top spot on the world 29 together with Jin Daoliu, the adjudicator elder of Wuhan Palace. They are called the two mountains of the Soul Master world, which means the insurmountable peaks. After retiring from the world of Soul Masters, Tang Chen was invited by Jin Daoliu to venture into Poseidon Island with him 10, and thus fell in love with Bosaixi, The high priest of Poseidon Island Bosaixi chose Tang Chen among the two, but because of her pride, she did not express her favorability, which led to Tang Chen misunderstanding and getting lost in the killing city during the Shura divine examination. 22. Appearance and clothing. Tang Chen is tall 14, with black hair and black eyes, handsome appearance 12, deep eyes, and an old and thick voice, like a majestic old man 15. As the king of slaughter, Tang Chen had a deep and sharp voice, wore a blood-colored robe, and his whole body was wrapped in a huge scarlet cloak with a stand-up color. The face is pale 14, and looks like a middle-aged man 15, with blood-red hair and eyes. Looking from a distance, it looks like a shadow of blood. 14. 7 years later, many mysterious bloodlines appeared on Tang Chen's pale skin. There was also a sword-shaped magic pattern on his forehead, and a pair of huge blood-red wings spread outward from his back. 12. Character traits. Tang Chen was wise, but he was too obsessed with cultivation, which led to him neglecting many other things. Tang Chen once pursued Bosaixi with Jin Douluo. Bosaixi also developed a liking for Tang Chen and secretly confessed to Tang Chen. After hearing this, Jin Douluo left voluntarily, but Tang Chen ignored the meaning of Bosaixi's words, and instead seriously made a promise to Bosaixi that he would only return after becoming a god, causing Bosaixi to stay alone in the boudoir for decades. Also out of his own pride and man's dignity, even if Tang Chen later understood the meaning of Bosaixi's words, he was unwilling to break his promise and go back to find her. 11. Editing and broadcasting of character abilities. Martial soul. Clear Sky Hammer. Clear Sky Hammer. Tang Chen's martial spirit is the Clear Sky Hammer, which can only be possessed by the direct bloodline of the Clear Sky sect. 2. The Clear Sky Hammer is known as the best martial spirit in the world. 3. In terms of dominance, power, and explosive power, the Clear Sky Hammer can take the top spot among the known martial arts in the Soul Master world. 4. Tang Chen's Clear Sky Hammer follows a balanced approach. Although his Clear Sky Hammer is very domineering, it relies more on the combination of its own powerful soul power and skills. The attacks are so wonderful that the opponent is often unable to resist. 16. 99. 95,969,520.00%. 979,620.00%. 979,830.00%. 989,940.00%. 95. 30. 95. 5. Number 1. 15. Among the 3 peerless Douluo in the world, Tang Chen is the only one who has reached level 99 by relying on his own strength. He is also the only one who is expected to become a god by relying on his own strength. He reached level 99 3 years earlier than Poseidon without taking advantage of geographical advantages. Tang Chen was the strongest among the 3. 11. Secret skill. Unique skill effect. Chaos Cloak Hammer. One of the most powerful casting techniques that can drive out metal impurities when the heart is beating rapidly. The mana starts from the 2 calves, and the power is uploaded to the thighs, through the waist, back, and arms, and finally released with full strength. 6-7. Use your body to drive the hammer to circle around at the moment when the hammer is about to reach its highest point. Use the rebound force generated by the collision between the hammer and the metal to turn it into the power of your next blow. After that, the power of each blow exceeds that of the user full strength. Use this technique to swing 81 hammers in a row to directly shape a piece of pig iron into what you want. 8-9. When used in actual combat, the random cloak hammer method can temporarily accumulate the power of the attack at one point. The power of each hammer will be stronger than the previous hammer, and finally it will be released in one breath after 81-20 hammers. The disadvantage is that it requires a long accumulation process. Haoshin Jojo. The Clear Sky Hammer has 9 unique power generating techniques, each of which has its own characteristics compared with this somewhat useless random cloak hammering technique. The Haoshin Sect's real secret skill. The Haoshin 9 secret skills are truly powerful abilities that can be used in actual combat even among the direct disciples of the Haoshin sect. Not everyone can teach the 9 arts. Only with the approval of the sect master and elders can they be taught. 18. Awesome Hammer. Haoshin Douluo's exclusive training method, a magical skill that only gods can perfectly perform. The requirements for cultivators are extremely high. If you are not a gifted genius, you will never be able to succeed in cultivation, and your life will be in danger. Theoretically speaking, it means condensing all one's soul rings into one, injecting them all into the Clear Sky Hammer, turning them into the purest strength and attack power, forcibly breaking through all constraints, and exerting a powerful strength that surpasses one's own soul power. It is the root of defeating 10 guilds with 1-4-17. The Great Sumeru Hammer has a secret technique called ring explosion. By blowing up the soul ring, the power of the soul ring is integrated into the attack, creating a powerful force far beyond its own. This is the desperate skill of the Great Sumeru Hammer. Each soul ring launches an attack. When all the soul rings have passed through the ring explosion, the user himself will also enter a weak state. 19. Field. The demon sword of Shura is the super artifact of God Shura. 24. Tang Chen was recognized by the demon sword of Shura after passing the 8th test of God Shura. 15. The Shura demonic sword is more than 2 meters long, and its body is blood red. The long and thick sword is densely covered with dark golden demonic patterns. 22. The Shura demonic sword itself is an entity that bestows power on the god patrollers, and can reversely summon the heroic souls of the god patrollers to assist in combat. 25. The demon sword of Shura carried the test of God Shura that Tang Chen had completed 8 times. Tang Chen refined the power of God Shura he had obtained and concentrated it into this demon sword, leaving it to Tang San. As long as Tang San picks up this sword, he has the possibility of choosing to inherit the Shura God. 22. Chapter 232. Thunder Swallowing. Guang's Huangfei, the strongest, took the lead. With a big hand, the demon-slaying sword appeared in his hand. Then with a strong wave, the bloody sword energy surged out, cutting off a large piece of purple thunder and lightning. Black Curse followed closely, with 4 horse legs firmly attached to the steep mountain wall. His hands were already holding the black sword tightly, and he swung it down quickly. Black blades shot out, although the power was not as powerful as Guang's Fei's sword energy could easily cut off the purple thunder and lightning. Several other people also used their own abilities. Yu Yao transformed into a wolf shape, spitting energy light waves from his mouth and blasting towards the purple thunder and lightning, causing a violent explosion in midair. While Liang Heo controlled the stone wall to protrude quickly, forming an extremely strong stone wall protective barrier to block the intrusion of the purple current. A black mist emerged from Duan Xiao's body, gradually covering everyone, providing everyone with an increase in speed. As everyone moved forward in the black mist, their speed became faster. Guang's Hongyang held the demon-slaying sword and controlled the sword shadows in the sky to continuously block the purple thunder and lightning. Chen Luo's attacks were not suitable for the current environment. If you were to use crazy thunder and flame slash to deal with thunder and lightning, it would be unnecessary. He could just lie down. Xiao Wu is by Chen Luo's side and can also be protected by the undead. Arlene, the 9-tailed demon fox, had already entered the dead space before climbing the mountain because she was not good at fighting. The 2 undead spirits, Li Feng and Bian Lu, entered the skull ring. At this time, the skull ring was worn on Chen Luo's hand. Although the purple thunder and lightning is fierce, it cannot break through the defense of Chen Luo and others. As Chen Luo and the others continued to advance, the sound of explosions never stopped, and the air was filled with the smell of thunder and lightning and terrifying energy. As the most idle being, Chen Luo began to take action on the energy in the air. The Death God's technique operates automatically and quickly. Even if Chen Luo doesn't want it, the Death God's technique is constantly devouring the energy in the air for Chen Luo. The energy created by thunder and lightning also contained many thunder and lightning elements, and Chen Luo swallowed them all up through the death technique. Any element, as long as it exists in the form of energy, Chen Luo can perfectly absorb and devour it through the death technique. The thunder and lightning elements were not eliminated as impurities by Chen Luo's death technique, but part of them was retained and submerged into Chen Luo's body. Chen Luo is temporarily unable to use these powers, but he can also feel how powerful they are. As soon as the thunder and lightning elements entered Chen Luo's body, Chen Luo's 5th soul skill, Crazy Thunder and Explosive Flame Slash, was sensed. It seems that when Chen Luo used Crazy Thunder and Explosive Flame Slash, he could perfectly borrow these thunder and lightning elements to transform the Crazy Thunder and Explosive Flame Slash. Be stronger. When Chen Luo and the others began to be blocked by thunder and lightning, they were followed by countless thunder and lightning bombardments. At first, they were just thick thunder and lightning, which was the most common form. Later, those purple thunder and lightning turned into various forms, including purple thunder and lightning giants, and purple thunder and lightning beasts. They were all extremely powerful, compared to the original form of purple thunder and lightning. In other words, it has more powerful mobility. The purple lightning began to become more and more powerful, but it was always within the defense range of Gong's Hongfei and Black Curse. No matter it was a purple thunder giant or a purple thunder beast, Guangzhong would still kill it with one sword. It's just that Black Curse gradually became a little difficult, and Yu Yao and others struggled even more. They could only delay those thunder and lightning beasts, leaving Guangzhong Fei and Black Curse to deal with them. When the purple lightning transformed into the form of a thunder beast, the frequency of these terrifying existences began to decrease, but the intensity also continued to increase. In less than half an hour, the strength of the thunder beast has reached the level of Contra. At this time, Yu Yao and others were completely unable to shake those thunder and lightning beasts, and could only leave the heavy responsibility of killing them to Guangzhong Fei and Black Curse. Chen Luo and the others are almost reaching the top of the mountain, which is their ultimate goal. As long as they survive this period of time, they will be able to relax later. Even if you have to face those purple thunder behemoths on the top of the mountain, at least you can fight them with your feet on the ground instead of having to stabilize your body while facing the attack of the thunder behemoths. After all, Chen Luo and the others were between cliffs and it was not very convenient to move. 67 out of 10 of them could exert their full strength, which was already very good. If possible, Chen Luo even wants to temporarily put Yu Yao and the others into the necromantic space and let them rest for a while. They really can't play a big role now, and they can only play a small role with all their efforts. It is better to enter the necromantic space first to recharge your batteries, and then prepare for subsequent actions. It's just that Chen Luo's necromancer space doesn't have enough space for the necromancers. Chen Luo's strength has obviously improved a lot, but the space in the necromancer space has still not increased. I don't know if it's because of the lack of some kind of media guidance. Do you experience this kind of thing every time you go out for training? Xiao Wu looked at the purple electric current flying in the air, a trace of fear flashed in her big watery eyes, and finally couldn't help but look at Chen Luo and asked. Chen Luo smiled slightly. That's about it. This time it was more fierce, but I didn't put in much effort. With these seniors here, safety can still be guaranteed. Xiao Wu's voice trembled slightly as she said, but when you went out before, there weren't so many seniors around you. In the past, you could only do your best, and then add some luck. Chen Luo smiled and looked very calm, as if the things he had experienced before were the most ordinary things. Xiao Wu glanced at Chen Luo with complicated eyes, and then fell into silence. Her eyes gradually moved to the purple giant beasts that kept condensing in the air, and she sighed in her heart, I can finally go through these things with you. Unfortunately, I am still too weak and can't help you with anything. While Chen Luo and Xiao Wu were having a brief exchange, Guangzhong was lamenting the terrifying strength of his eldest brother. Brother, how did you climb to the top of the sword tomb alone? There were so many thunder and lightnings that it was difficult for all of us to deal with them together. But you went up alone at that time, it must have been too powerful. Guangzhong sighed with emotion. When he looked at Guangzhong Fei, his eyes were full of admiration. Guangzhong Fei only responded calmly, the more people go up the mountain, the more difficult it is to go up the mountain. Hearing this, a look of surprise suddenly appeared on Guangzhong's face. So that's it. Why didn't you tell us before going up the mountain? Wouldn't it be a lot easier if we had a few less people on the mountain? It's a pity that the boss's space and the necromancer's space is insufficient, otherwise we, the burdensome ones, could go to the necromancer's space. You can go down. Guangzhong Fei said calmly. Guangzhong. Chapter 233. Going up the mountain. The closer you get to the top of the mountain, the more powerful the thunder and lightning beast appears. Fortunately, the number of thunder beasts is getting smaller and smaller, otherwise even with two super powerful beings, Guangzhong Fei and Black Curse, it would be difficult to reach the top. Mainly because they brought a group of useless teammates, which not only couldn't help much, but also hindered them, making it more difficult to go up the mountain. But it's impossible not to take them with you. After all, this is an opportunity to become stronger. It's difficult at the beginning, but it will be much easier after that. Otherwise, Guangzhong Fei would have raised this matter directly before going up the mountain. After a long period of struggle, Chen Luo and the others were finally getting closer and closer to the top of the mountain. It only took less than half a quarter of an hour to reach the top of the mountain. This half-quarter of an hour is undoubtedly the most difficult moment for Chen Luo and the others. Whether they can go up is still a question. After killing a giant thunder beast again, Guangzhong Fei finally fought with his sword, and Black Curse also joined him, coming to Guangzhong Fei's demon-slaying sword and fighting side by side with Guangzhong Fei. What appeared in front of them this time were 3 giant thunder beasts, 2 of which were purple thunder in the form of beasts, and 1 purple thunder in the form of a giant more than 5 meters high. These 3 giant lightning beasts are all titled Douluo level beings, and among them, the purple thunderbolt in the form of a giant possesses the strength of a peak Douluo level. It is very powerful in combat and extremely aggressive. Even if it is Gongzhongfei's defense, the purple thunder giant can still easily break through it, and Gongzhongfei can only fight head-on. At this time, Gongzhongfei and Heiju were both thousands of meters in the air, and they were above the Demon Slayer sword. The targets of the 3 giant thunder beasts were originally everyone, but after Gongzhongfei and Heiju took off into the air, they immediately shifted their targets to Gongzhongfei and Heiju. The giant thunder beasts all have the ability to fly into the air. They are originally transformed by thunder and lightning, but they only appear to have some shapes on the outside. After flying with the sword, Gongzhongfei and Black Curse immediately unleashed their full strength. Fighting in mid-air is still somewhat inconvenient. Even if they have the ability to fly, they can never be compared to the purple thunder and lightning monsters that appear out of thin air. As long as they are in the air, those thunder and lightning monsters will always occupy the space. An absolute advantage. The battle soon started, and Gongzhongfei and Heiju had very clear goals. Gongzhongfei dealt with a thunder giant with peak Douluo combat power, while Black Curse was responsible for dealing with the other 2 thunder beasts with title Douluo strength. The 2 thundering beasts looked like wolves and snakes respectively. Of course, that was just a rough outline, and others might look like other beings. Gongzhongfei has always been a very straightforward person. He held his right hand, and the shadow of the demon-slaying sword appeared in his hand, gradually solidifying, and he began to prepare for the killing move. The giant demon-slaying sword at the feet of him and Black Curse turned into a phantom, but still existed as if it were substance. I saw the 8th soul ring on Gongzhongfei's body suddenly light up, and the demon-slaying sword in Gongzhongfei's hand came out and suddenly turned into a sword shadow all over the sky. Both are 10,000 swords returning to the clan, but Gongzhongfei's Wanjian returning to the clan is countless times stronger than Gongzhonggang. Of course, Gongzhongfei's Wanjian returning to the clan is the 8th soul skill after all, while Gongzhonggang's Wanjian returning to the clan is the 8th soul skill. It is only the 6th soul skill, and there is a certain gap between the two. As Gongzhongfei's 8th soul skill, the power of Wanjian Gizeng is pretty good, only slightly inferior to Gongzhongfei's 9th soul skill, sword breaking the world. The moment the sword shadow appeared in the sky, it immediately headed towards the thunder giant, carrying extremely terrifying power. Witnessed by everyone, the bloody sword shadow in the sky instantly penetrated the thunder giant's body, leaving huge holes in the thunder giant's body, causing great damage to the thunder giant. But this thunder giant is not so easy to solve. The wounds on its body healed at an extremely fast speed. It was full of holes just now, but it returned to its original appearance in a moment. This recovery ability can be described as terrifying. The thunder giant can absorb the power of thunder and lightning in the air to quickly replenish itself. It originally exists in the form of energy. Gongzhongfei's attack on it only disperses the energy. As long as the thunder giant does not completely dissipate, it can continue to recover, possessing an almost immortal body. Gongzhongfei obviously has combat experience with such an existence. His move of 10,000 swords returning to the sect did not intend to directly deal with the thunder giant, but to prepare for his 9th soul skill, the ultimate skill of sword breaking the world. Period. Almost at the same time that the thunder giant recovered from its wounds and rushed towards Gongzhongfei, Gongzhongfei's sword broke through the sky and earth suddenly launched. Incomparably vast and powerful sword energy burst out from the demon-slaying sword in Gongzhongfei's hand. In the sky above Gongzhongfei, the shadow of a supergiant sword hundreds of meters tall also fell, and the innocence was broken. A huge hole was opened in the clouds, spreading for thousands of meters. Wherever the sword energy passed, everything turned into nothingness, including the thunder giant who was still showing his teeth just now. With 1 move to prepare the ground and 2 moves to defeat the enemy, Gongzhongfei is as powerful as ever. While Gongzhongfei was dealing with the thunder giant, Black Curse was also attacking the other 2 thunder giants. Black Curse murmured obscure incantations, and complex and mysterious magic arrays appeared one after another on his body. He held a knife in one hand, and quickly held various hand seals with the other hand. The energy between heaven and earth continued to move towards the Black Curses gathered together, and a black knife line gradually formed in the black curse's sword. The whole process happened very quickly, at the moment when the two thunder and lightning beasts rushed over. The black curse stopped muttering, and the other hand also stopped making seals. He held the knife in both hands. At that moment, the aura of the whole person reached an absolute height. When he waved the big knife, time seemed to slow down. The black curse, his movement seemed to have slowed down a lot. The knife fell, and a jet black knife line suddenly shot out. From the initial length of more than 2 meters, it instantly extended to hundreds of meters and kilometers, possessing the power to tear everything apart. The two lightning beasts collided directly with the dark knife line, and instantly turned into nothingness, even omitting the process of dissipation. While Gong Zhongfei's side captured the thunder giant, Black Curse also happened to capture the two thunder beasts. If these 3 giant thunder beasts appear from one direction, perhaps Gong Zhongfei or Heiju can solve them together with one move. They didn't bother to lure them together to create a better opportunity to attack, but directly dealt with them happily, showing Chen Luo and the others an extremely dazzling scene. Even Chen Luo, who had already seen Gong Zhongfei and Black Curse take action, couldn't help but froze when he saw them take action again, his eyes full of fanaticism. This is the truly powerful force. Xiao Wu saw Heiju and Gong Zhongfei taking action for the first time, and was already trembling with fear from the extremely powerful aura. After all the thunder and lightning beasts were eliminated, Gong Zhongfei and Heiju returned to Chen Luo and the others as if nothing had happened. They still chose to climb up instead of flying directly towards the mountain with everyone. No one knows what will happen next. The further you get to the back, the more likely things will go wrong. Even Gong Zhongfei, who has been here before, doesn't dare to conclude that no more dangers and accidents will happen later. The last time he came, he was alone. This time it was a group of people after all. Chapter 234 After the Gap. The road after that was much smoother than everyone imagined. They did not encounter any dangers. Not to mention those powerful thunder and lightning beasts. Even the most basic thunder and lightning no longer existed. There was no threat to Chen Luo and the others. The presence. The only thing that changed was that the wind was a little stronger. But this is normal and completely reasonable. The higher the place, the stronger the wind. So Chen Luo and the others didn't pay attention. The strong wind could not stop them. They all had strong strength. Not to mention the strong wind, even if the strong wind came, it would not threaten them. As long as the previous ones no longer appeared. The thunder behemoth can say anything. It didn't take long for Chen Luo and the others to reach the top of the mountain. There is a protruding stone wall on the top of the mountain. There is a huge gap in the stone wall, which can allow at most one person to pass through. Through the gap, you can see the tens of thousands of cliffs, but Gong Zhongfei said that there is the road leading to the sword tomb. No one questioned what Gong Zhongfei said, and they all followed Gong Zhongfei towards the gap in the stone wall. As the distance continued to get closer, everyone gradually saw some dense writing on the stone wall. The writing had a sense of age. Even the black curse that had also survived for many years could not read it. At most, they could recognize a few words. It makes no sense even when put together. I once heard my former master say that he came here and saw the content on the stone wall. He said that it was an ancient writing, and even he could only recognize it roughly. Black Curse said. Senior Black Curse, what is the approximate content? Everyone's eyes were focused on Black Curse, and Gong Zhonggyang even asked directly. Black Curse said, I have seen miracles and had the opportunity to become a god, but I chose to give up, not because I was afraid, but because I felt that God was not worthy. Everyone was a little surprised when they heard this, only Gong Zhongfei seemed a little calmer. Although I can't understand the words on it, I can understand its artistic conception. Gong Zhongfei said. After a short interlude, everyone continued to move forward, getting closer and closer to the gap, but when they were only a few steps away from the gap, a strong wind suddenly started. Chen Luo and the others reacted very quickly. They immediately used their soul power to stabilize their bodies and then moved forward against the strong wind. Neither Gong Zhongfei nor Heiju took action to help everyone deal with the storm, but just moved on by themselves. When they arrived at the top of the mountain, Gong Zhongfei had already said that everything from now on would depend on everyone. Black Curse also immediately expressed his thoughts, which were consistent with Gong Zhongfei. If all the problems are solved by them, then what's the point of this adventure? They used their ultimate move earlier not only for the efficiency of climbing up the mountain, but also to show that they would not use it again in the future. Compared with facing those powerful thunder and lightning beasts, Chen Luo and the others seemed to be much more comfortable facing the strong wind. Among everyone present, even the weakest Xiao Wu was able to stabilize his body and keep walking forward. During this period, Chen Luo subconsciously wanted to protect Xiao Wu, but Xiao Wu chose to bear everything on her own, and Chen Luo was slightly moved by her unwillingness to admit defeat. During the process of going up the mountain, except when facing the powerful thunder and lightning beast, Xiao Wu stayed close to Chen Luo and accepted the protection of the two bosses Heiju and Gongzi Hongfei. At other times, she relied on her own strength. Forward. Going forward against the strong wind, everyone came to the gap. Gongzi Hongfei entered it first, followed by Black Curse, followed by Chen Luo and others. Looking through the gap to the other side, it was clearly a cliff, but after Chen Luo and the others passed by, they directly entered another world. They came to an extremely huge cave. There were exquisite long swords everywhere in the cave. Some were lying on the ground casually, and some were submerged in the stone walls. It was like a huge sword exhibition hall. There are only swords you haven't seen before, and there are no swords that don't exist here. It's just that most of the long swords are rusty, and many of the long swords have been corroded into shape. But there are still a few long swords that don't have a trace of rust, or even a speck of dust on them. They still show off their respective strengths and seem to be telling their respective glorious pasts. The cave is so big that you can't see the edge at a glance. From time to time there is the sound of water drops falling, and the faint sound of surging water can also be heard. Most of the sounds came into Chen Luo's ears in the form of echoes, and they couldn't determine where the sounds came from. After entering here, Chen Luo and the others' perception was blocked, and they could only rely on their five senses to get feedback from everything. Sound is something that can easily cause misunderstandings. There is a certain truth in this saying. After entering the cave, Gongzi Hongfei stopped and Black Curse followed suit. Gongzi Hongfei said in a deep voice, "You need to walk the next road by yourself. I will not interfere in any way, even if you are about to die." Chen Luo and others nodded lightly. In fact, they knew in their hearts that at the critical moment, Gongzi Hongfei and Black Curse would still take action. The reason why Gongzi Hongfei said this was just to make everyone nervous and enter a better battle state. Even though they knew it in their hearts, Chen Luo and the others immediately entered a state of high alert, ready to fight at any time. Chen Luo walked to the front of the team and became the new team leader. Xiao Wu followed closely, the other undead souls followed scatteredly, and the two big bosses Heiju and Gongzi Hongfei were at the end. After entering the cave, Chen Luo summoned all the other undead spirits, including the nine-tailed demon fox Arlene, the hell demon spider, the king of the earth, and so on. This is a rare opportunity to become stronger, and all undead should enjoy it. From the situation on the mountain, we can know that going to Sword Tomb to explore will not bring any advantage in terms of numbers, but will put people at a disadvantage. The more people there are, the more difficult it will be. This is also an excellent place to form a group, allowing everyone to have certain resources to enjoy and face certain difficulties individually. The specific situation will only be revealed when everyone faces difficulties. Chen Luo has given orders to the undead, especially the unintelligent undead, to let them fight on their own without relying on him as the leader, and to use their abilities as much as possible to benefit themselves. If he relied entirely on the power of the undead, experience would really have little effect on Chen Luo, so he would try to control this disadvantage as much as possible. It is indeed comfortable to lie down and win, but you cannot always lie down and win. In the past, you were not strong enough and had to rely on the power of the undead. Now that you have a certain level of strength, of course you have to face various difficulties and gain gains from them. Only in this way can we truly grow. Not long after everyone moved forward, a group of humanoid figures appeared in front of them, and the difficulty had arrived. Chapter 235 Sword Spirit. Currently coding, please refresh later. Tang Chen, a character in the otherworldly continent fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, the previous sect leader of the Haoshan sect, the inheritor of the Shura god, and the killing king of the city of killing martial spirit Haoshan Hammer, a level 99 attack type demigod peerless Douluo, titled Haoshan, 15, and nicknamed Invincible on the Ground, 21. Tang Chen and Jin Daoliu, the adjudicator elder of Wuhan Palace, are known as the two mountains in the Soul Master world. They once traveled to Poseidon Island 10, together and fell in love with Bo Saxi, the high priest of Poseidon Island. Because he misunderstood the meaning of Bosaxi's obscure confession, Tang Chen made a promise: I will never return until I become a god. 11. Tang Chen found the inheritance of God Shura in the city of Killing, but was defeated by the secret hand of God Rakshasa in the assessment and was parasitized by the blood-red nine-headed Bat King, became the Killing King of the Killing City. 15. 1, 10, 15, 99, 15. Contents: 1. Role, image, identity, background, appearance and clothing, character traits. 2. Character abilities, martial, soul, secret, skill, field, artifact. 3. Interpersonal relationships. 4. Role, experience, Haoshin Douluo, promise of becoming a god, king of killing, immortal soul. 5. Role, evaluation, character, image, editing and broadcasting, identity, background. Tang Chen is the leader of the Haoshin sect. He is the most powerful Haoshin Douluo in the history of the Haoshin sect, and leads the sect to the top spot on the world. 29. Together with Jin Douluo, the adjudicator elder of Wuhan Palace, they are called the Two Mountains of the Soul Master world, which means the insurmountable peaks. After retiring from the world of Soul Masters, Tang Chen was invited by Jin Douluo to venture into Poseidon Island with him. 10. And thus fell in love with Bosaxi, the high priest of Poseidon Island. Bosaxi chose Tang Chen among the two, but because of her pride, she did not express her favorability, which led to Tang Chen misunderstanding and getting lost in the Killing City during the Shura Divine Examination. 22. Appearance and clothing. Tang Chen is tall. 14, with black hair and black eyes, handsome appearance. 12, deep eyes, and an old and thick voice, like a majestic old man. 15, as the king of slaughter, Tang Chen had a deep and sharp voice, wore a blood-colored robe, and his whole body was wrapped in a huge scarlet cloak with a stand-up collar. The face is pale. 14, and looks like a middle-aged man. 15, with blood-red hair and eyes. Looking from a distance, it looks like a shadow of blood. 14. 7 years later, many mysterious bloodlines appeared on Tang Chen's pale skin. There was also a sword-shaped magic pattern on his forehead, and a pair of huge blood-red wings spread outward from his back. 12. Character traits. Tang Chen was wise, but he was too obsessed with cultivation, which led to him neglecting many other things. Tang Chen once pursued Bosaxi with Jin Douluo. Bosaxi also developed a liking for Tang Chen and secretly confessed to Tang Chen. After hearing this, Jin Douluo left voluntarily, but Tang Chen ignored the meaning of Bosaxi's words, and instead seriously made a promise to Bosaxi that he would only return after becoming a god, causing Bosaxi to stay alone in the boudoir for decades. Also out of his own pride and man's dignity, even if Tang Chen later understood the meaning of Bosaxi's words, he was unwilling to break his promise and go back to find her. 11. Editing and broadcasting of character abilities. Martial soul, clear sky hammer. Clear sky hammer. Tang Chen's martial spirit is the clear sky hammer, which can only be possessed by the direct bloodline of the clear sky sect. 2. The clear sky hammer is known as the best martial spirit in the world. 3. In terms of dominance, power, and explosive power, the clear sky hammer can take the top spot among the known martial arts in the Soul Master world. 4. Tang Chen's clear sky hammer follows a balanced approach. Although his clear sky hammer is very domineering, it relies more on the combination of its own powerful soul power and skills. The attacks are so wonderful that the opponent is often unable to resist. 16. 99. 95,969,520.00%. 979,620.00%. 979,830.00%. 989,940.00%. 95, 30. 95, 5. Number 1, 15. Among the 3 peerless Douluo in the world, Tang Chen is the only one who has reached level 99 by relying on his own strength. He is also the only one who is expected to become a god by relying on his own strength. He reached level 99 3 years earlier than Poseidon without taking advantage of geographical advantages. Tang Chen was the strongest among the 3. 11. Secret skill, unique skill effect, Chaos Cloak Hammer. One of the most powerful casting techniques that can drive out metal impurities when the heart is beating rapidly. The mana starts from the 2 calves, and the power is uploaded to the thighs, through the waist, back, and arms, and finally released with full strength. 6-7. Use your body to drive the hammer to circle around at the moment when the hammer is about to reach its highest point. Use the rebound force generated by the collision between the hammer and the metal to turn it into the power of your next blow. After that, the power of each blow exceeds that of the user full strength. Use this technique to swing 81 hammers in a row to directly shape a piece of pig iron into what you want. 8-9. When used in actual combat, The random cloak hammer method can temporarily accumulate the power of the attack at one point. The power of each hammer will be stronger than the previous hammer, and finally it will be released in one breath after 8120 hammers. The disadvantage is that it requires a long accumulation process. Haoshan Jojo. The Clear Sky Hammer has 9 unique power generating techniques, each of which has its own characteristics compared with this somewhat useless random cloak hammering technique. The Haoshan 6 Real Secret Skill. The Haoshan 9 secret skills are truly powerful abilities that can be used in actual combat even among the direct disciples of the Haoshan sect. Not everyone can teach the 9 arts. Only with the approval of the sect master and elders can they be taught. 18. Awesome Hammer. Haoshan Douluo's exclusive training method. A magical skill that only gods can perfectly perform. The requirements for cultivators are extremely high. If you are not a gifted genius, you will never be able to succeed in cultivation, and your life will be in danger. Theoretically speaking, it means condensing all one's soul rings into one, injecting them all into the Clear Sky Hammer, turning them into the purest strength and attack power, forcibly breaking through all constraints, and exerting a powerful strength that surpasses one's own soul power. It is the root of defeating 10 guilds with 1-4-17. The Great Sumeru Hammer has a secret technique called Ring Explosion. By blowing up the soul ring, the power of the soul ring is integrated into the attack, creating a powerful force far beyond its own. This is the desperate skill of the Great Sumeru Hammer. Each soul ring launches an attack. When all the soul rings have passed through the ring explosion, the user himself will also enter a weak state. 19. Field. Chapter 236. Kill casually. Currently coding. Will update later. Just refresh later. Chen Zin, a character in the otherworldly mainland fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, the protector Douluo of the Kibao Glazed sect, the honorary elder of Wuhan Palace, the 97th level peak Douluo of the attack system, titled Sword. The martial spirit is the 7-killing sword, known as the most powerful title Douluo in attack, and is engraved on the papal decree as the representative of the 7 treasures glazed sect. 1. Identity background. Chen Zin is the sky supporting white jade pillar of the Kibao Glazed sect and the purple golden beam of the Jihei. It is one of the 2 protective gods of the sect. The Kibao Glazed sect has always been able to rank among the best among the 7 major sects. Although it is related to its own super auxiliary martial spirit, it is absolutely inseparable from the support of 2 title Douluo Chen Zin and Gu Rong. 7. At the level of title Douluo, others are accustomed to calling him Sword Dao. Chen Zin, having been immersed in the martial spirit of his long sword all his life, there are definitely not many people who dare to compare with him in terms of attack power. 3. Appearance and clothing. Dusty Dust Heart. 3 photos. Chen Zin looks like an old man, wearing a spotless snow-white robe, with white beard and hair. His long silver hair is neatly combed behind his back. He has a simple appearance, his face is as delicate as a baby, his expression is very indifferent, and his eyes seem to be unable to see anything around him. It looked like something, but it just stood there quietly and didn't speak. But just standing there, he still gave people a feeling that he was the only one in the universe. Chen Zin's voice is like a sharp blade, cutting everyone's heart. 3. 9-10. Character traits. Chen Zin has always been self-centered to the outside world. 3. And only when facing Ning Fengzi, Ning Rongrong and Gu Rong does he show a different side. He was just like an ordinary old man in front of Ning Rongrong, and he treated Ning Rongrong like his granddaughter. 11. Chen Zin attaches great importance to his own strength and has always longed to surpass his father and defeat Jin Daoliu. However, his arm was cut off during the soul hunting operation, and he had no hope of facing off against Jin Daoliu in this life. As a result, he became even more silent, and his whole body was like dust that was silent in the invisible. 5. But when he saw Tang San use level 93 strength to defeat Bibi Dong, who was using level 98 strength, Chen Zin was no longer limited to the improvement of strength by level. Whenever the strong ones faced off, his attitude would become fanatical, eager to win from the top. What did you learn from it? Chen Zin's martial spirit is the 7-killing sword, which is one of the few top martial arts spirits that can be compared with a Clear Sky Hammer. 13. It was originally a simple giant sword about 2 meters long and half a foot wide. 2. After the level 97 martial spirit evolves, the 7-killing sword is 4 feet 3 inches long, 3 inches wide, and the handle is 1 foot 2 inches long. 8. Chen Zin is known as the #1 attacking title Douluo in the mainland. 8. With a soul power as high as level 96. 7. During the soul hunting operation, my arm was broken and my blood was damaged. It will be difficult to make progress in the future, But I also gained some understanding and broke through to level 97. 5. When the soul power reaches level 95 or above, the martial soul will evolve every time it is improved. 14. When he broke through to the title Douluo, Chen Xin gained an exclusive domain. 15. Chen Xin's soul ring ratio is yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 black. 8. The ratio when the soul ring first appeared was 2 yellow, 3 purple, 4 black. 2. His cultivation is so deep that he can cultivate the soul ring to the point where it separates from the appearance of his own soul ring and merges with a martial soul. 8. The 9th soul skill can transform into a giant sword, and can also be used as a shadow. 14. Having reached level 97, he already has the ability to wield a sword, so he can fly into the air to attack enemies. 16. A person who is good at attacking will not ignore the opponent's attack. With decades of rich combat experience, he can feel the intensity of the opponent's attack from clues. 2. Father Chen Xin's father is a level 97 peak Douluo when he was 108 years old. He broke through to level 97. In the same year, he met the last opponent in his life and was defeated before he died. He told Chen Xin about the level gap between title Douluo after level 95. 5. Ningrongrong Ningfengzi's daughter grew up in the favor of Ningfengzi, Chen Xin, and Gurong 9. Chen Xin and Gurong loved Ningrongrong even more than Ningfengzi. Whenever Ningfengzi wants to discipline his daughter, one of him or Gurong will always stand up to. Ningrongrong's spoiled character since childhood was almost cultivated by him and Gurong 11. Ancient Banyan Chen Xin's good friend, and he is also the sect protector Douluo of the 7 treasures glazed sect. The two are a pair of bad friends who often undermine each other. 2, 7, 11. They are both protector Douluo of the Kibao glazed sect, but Chen Xin's soul power has reached level 96 and has undergone a qualitative change. So Gurong has been suppressed by Chen Xin for many years. 5. Ningfengzi. The object of Chen Xin's protection is the leader of the Kibao glazed sect. 10. As the leader of the Kibao glazed sect, Ningfengzi always has a powerful guardian by his side. Chen Xin and Gurong took turns protecting Ningfengzi, while the remaining one was in charge of the Kibao glazed sect. 3. Early experiences. Bereavement in the year 72 of the Douluo calendar, Chen Xin was 92 years old and his soul power level reached level 95. In the same year, Chen Xin's father had a duel with Jin Daoliu, the elder of Wuhan Hall, and was defeated and died before he died. He told Chen Xin the level gap between title Douluo after level 96. More than 10 years later, Chen Xin's soul power reached level 5 and became the protector Douluo of the 7 treasures glazed sect. Make friends with Tang San. Relief in Douluo calendar. 11. Ningrongrong came back from Shrek Academy. 17. 7. Showed the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda to Ningfengzi, Chen Xin and Gurong, and asked Chen Xin to test the secret weapon. Power 18. After seeing the surprise of the hidden weapon, Chen Xin asked Ningfengzi to do everything possible to get Tang San to join the 7 treasures glazed sect. 19. This idea ultimately failed due to Tang San's status as a direct descendant of the Haoshan sect, and Ningfengzi turned from wooing him to becoming a good friend. After the promotion competition of the All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy competition, Ningfengzi was entrusted by Emperor Zhu to protect Zhu King, who was participating in the competition review on behalf of the Xiandao Empire. This time it was Chen Xin's turn to protect Ningfengzi on the way to Wuhan City, where the finals were held. Shrek Academy encountered 2 title Douluo from Wuhan Palace. Ningfengzi forced them back with Chen Xin. 3. After the final, Ningfengzi used the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda to treat Tang San, which accidentally exposed Xiao Wu's 10-year-old soft-bone rabbit's identity as a human. 20-21. Ningfengzi wanted to help, but he could only give up the idea after being warned by Wuhan Palace. 22. 23. Wuhan Empire. 5 years later, Wuhan Palace launched a soul hunting operation and simultaneously launched an attack on the Kibao glazed sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family. Chen Xin cut off his right arm and defeated 3 of the 4 title Douluo who attacked from Wuhan Palace, and retreated to Shrek Academy with Ningfengzi. 24. When Xiandao Palace changed, Chen Xin and Gurong guarded Ningfengzi and left the palace, joined Shrek Academy, and completely annihilated the Soul Master army that invaded the Academy. 13. In order to deal with the Spirit Hall, the Shrek 7 monsters decided to go to Poseidon Island to practice. Uzziah Gang asked Chen Xin to put the pressure of death on the 7 monsters and help them integrate into the team. 8. 5 years later, The Heaven Dao Empire and the Star Luo Empire declared war on the founding Wuhan Empire at the same time. The Shrek 6 monsters, Kibao Liulazong, and Tang sect masters followed the Xiandao Million army to the most important fortress of the Wuhan Empire, Jialing Pass Advance. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237 The Second Sword. In the ensuing head-on battle, Chen Xin's soul power was increased to level 98 by Ning Fengzi, and he knocked away the front-row defensive soul masters of the Wuhan Empire's soul master army with one sword, allowing the Tang army armed with the huge Liang Yu to kill them all. Nearly 1/6 of the soul masters in the Holy Dragon Legion were lost, and he faced Ghost Leopard Douluo, 26, who attacked Ning Rongrong after Bibi Dong ordered the retreat. He led the soul master army to continuously chase and kill the fleeing Holy Dragon Legion 27. While Bibi Dong was recuperating, Xiandao's army launched a general attack. Tang San destroyed the 4 gates of Jialing Pass and cut off the moat with the 13th sword of Chengxin after Tang San activated the moat and destroyed more than 1/3 of the giant crossbows guarding the city of Jialing Pass. Xiandao's army followed the 13 gaps to attack Jialing Pass, while Chen Xin and others were responsible for dealing with the top combat power of the Spirit Empire. With Ning Fengzi's full strength, Chen Xin stopped the two-titled Douluo from the Wuhan Empire with 1-2, 28-29. The second battle was eventually forced to end due to the arrival of 6 warriors above level 95 from the Wuhan Empire. The Xiandao army evacuated Jialing Pass under the cover of Haoshan sect reinforcements 12, 30-31. Battle of Two Gods. Nearly a month later, 32, the 6 Shrek monsters, headed by Tang San, who inherited the title of Poseidon, returned to Jialing Pass during the decisive battle between Tang San and Jin Ringsu, while the 6 monsters held back the 6 worshippers. Chen Xin and Gurong trapped 4 spirit while titled Douluo, 33-34. When the titled Douluo were restrained by Chen Xin, Tang Hao and others, Douluo secretly released the jade-scaled snake king poison at Jialing Pass, almost annihilating the main force of spirit masters in the Spirit Empire and breaking through Jialing Pass at the same time. Jin Ringsu was also defeated by Tang San, and Xiandao completely took over Jialing Pass, 35-37. The next day, headed by Tang Xiao, Daimyu Bei, Zhu's Huqing, Mo Hongjin and other powerful men, as well as the Soul Master Legion including all the disciples of the Kibao Glazed sect except for the sect leader Ning Fengzi and the two-titled Douluo, there were 38 disciples of the Tang family army. Set off collectively to support the Star Luo Empire. 2 days later, Jin Ringsu and the god Bibi Donkey arrived at Jialing Pass and killed Tang San, Chen Xin and Gurong, who accepted Ning Fengzi's all-out increase and tried to snatch Tang San back, were killed by Bibi Dong in mid-air, and their bones were scattered on the ground, but their death was not in vain. Bibi Dong was distracted for a moment and gave Tang San an opportunity to severely injure Bibi Dong, leaving the Xiandao Empire 3 more days, 40-41. In these last 3 days, Ning Rongrong and Oscar's martial soul fusion skills combined with a belief in sea creatures resurrected Tang San, 42-43. In the final battle, Tang San and Xiao Wu used the soul fusion skill 2 gods coexistence to kill Bibi Dong. Another god, Jin Ringsu, chose the shattered godhood to save Bibi Dong. The 2 gods of the Wuhan Empire fell at the same time, 44. Bibi Dong, a character in the otherworldly continental fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the 3rd son of the Tang family, the last pope of the Wuhan Palace, the founding queen and the last emperor of the Wuhan Empire. 1-2. The first-level god Luo, the god of Cha, the 3rd person to become a god in the Douluo continent in 2 years. 3-4, and one of the 10 killing gods in the Killing City. 5. 6-7, 8, 9-10, 99, 4. 9, 17. 1-2, 18. 8, 10, 99, 19. 1010, 20-21, 22. 2. Pope of Wuhan Palace Bibi Dong 6 photos. Bibi Dong was not tall, and the bright golden long dress fit perfectly from head to toe. The dazzling dress shone with precious lights, and there were more than 100 red, blue and gold gemstones on it. The 9 curved purple gold crown on the top of the head is even more glorious, and he holds a 2-meter-long scepter inlaid with countless precious stones. Fair skin and almost perfect face make her look so different, especially the intangible nobility and holiness that exudes from the body. It is even more unbearable to give birth to the emotion of worship. Bibi Dong is so stunningly beautiful, noble, elegant, and tranquil. It seems that all kinds of beautiful words can be applied to this woman. Although she is no longer young, the traces of time do not seem to have left on her. 9:23. Rakshasa Bibi Dong's appearance has changed greatly. She used to be so noble and stunning, but after becoming a god, Bibi Dong only exudes a rich and strong evil aura. It is not an exaggeration to describe her with a green face and fangs. The cyan face is in sharp contrast to the purple armor. Her armor is covered with a layer of purple energy with an evil flavor. 4 huge scythes extend from both sides of her back. 4 character traits. Bibi Dong is soft on the outside but strong on the inside. Beneath her soft appearance is a proud heart. 9. She will never allow anyone to put herself above herself. 24. Bibi Dong has always been approachable to the outside world, and only a master can make waves in her heart. 25. But even so, Bibi Dongju is the one who rules the Wuhan Palace and strives to achieve the unfinished goals and ambitions of his predecessors. His personal feelings will not affect the overall situation. 26. Bibi Dong 2 photos. Bibi Dong is a perfectionist. In order to reach the limit of the soul ring ratio of the second martial spirit, she concealed the existence of the second martial spirit until she succeeded to the position of Pope and could obtain the most resources. A secret, and this character also made Bibi Dong the strongest Pope in the history of Wuhan Palace. 10. Bibi Dong is not someone who indulges her emotions. She is good at forbearing, whether it is her body being taken away by her teacher Jin Zunji 27, or she has a peak soul power of level 99 but is deflated in the hands of Tang Hao due to the restrictions of the Rakshasa divine examination. 19:28. She remained unmoved and just waited to settle the matter later. Bibi Dong will directly kill subordinates who are not doing their job well according to her temper. However, rather than following her temper, she considers the overall situation more and will kill because of the needs of the plan. 29. Jin Zunji is the shadow of Bibi Dong's life. His behavior of destroying Bibi Dong's feelings made Bibi Dong's heart swallowed up by evil. 30. And became extremely extreme. He believed that every life in the world was evil and wanted revenge. Everyone in this world. 31. Realm Rakshasa God. 2 photos. 9998. 4. 19. 32-33. 3099. 24. 34. After completing the 9 Rakshasa exams, Bibi Dong broke through level 99, surpassed the rules 35, and became a first-level god. Rakshasa God 4. Bibi Dong received the inheritance at level 99, so her divine power is far stronger than that of ordinary first-level gods. 34. Chapter 238, Basic attack damage is higher. The 3 energy crystals turned into a long sword. This strange phenomenon made Chen Luo subconsciously look back at Gong's Hongfei behind him. This is a characteristic of energy crystals. The more energy crystals you acquire, they will automatically condense into new forms, thereby obtaining more energy. Gong's Hongfei's voice sounded from behind. His words are tantamount to saying that the more energy crystals you obtain, the higher the value. Chen Luo had also discovered this characteristic at this time. He could clearly sense that after the 3 energy crystals fused into a small sword, the energy in them seemed to have doubled, and it continued to grow upwards. It seems that these 3 energy crystals melted and absorbed the energy between heaven and earth into the small sword, making the energy in it become more. In terms of energy level, if the 3 energy crystals are in a single situation, their energy is counted as 1, then their energy after fusion can be counted as 10, which is a full 10 times increase. That's it. Fear. After receiving Gong's Hongfei's reminder and the feedback he had received, Chen Luo immediately reminded others, after you obtain the energy crystals, keep them all and gather them together before using them. If you have to use them as a last resort, then just use it. It depends on the situation. In fact, the undead almost never use this kind of energy crystal, and it is difficult to use up their energy unless they keep releasing their ultimate moves. For them, energy crystals are only used to enhance their strength. After receiving Chen Luo's reminder, the others immediately gathered the energy crystals together. Among them, Guang's Hongyang was more impatient and had already swallowed several energy crystals. He said with some embarrassment, I have just swallowed 3 energy crystals. Isn't it a pity? Guangzhongyang had just heard what Gong Zhongfei said and learned about the energy crystals. If he had just been a little patient and obtained a few more energy crystals before using them, he would have been able to discover the special features of the energy crystals like Chen Luo. Period. After Chen Luo heard this, his mood did not change much. He just reminded, just pay attention next time. In the process of talking with the undead, Chen Luo had already chosen his target again. When he was fighting the target, he thought of what Guangzhongyang said and was suddenly shocked. Guangzhongyang has actually killed 3 sword spirits. This speed is too fast. Previously, Chen Luo had been concentrating on his battle with the sword spirit and did not notice the fighting situation of the undead. At this time, Chen Luo looked at the situation on the undead and their side. All the fighting of the undead did not faze Chen Luo's disappointment. Yu Yao and Duan Xiao, who were at the contra level, fought against 2 sword spirits at the same time. They were still very relaxed, and the battle was almost over. While Liang Heo's side seems to be a little more difficult. After all, he mainly focuses on defense and strength, and the sword spirits are very flexible, which makes him a little miserable. Even so, while Liang Heo is in an advantage most of the time, and he can win the sword spirit. Just a matter of time. Guangzhongyang's side surprised Chen Luo the most. He had underestimated Guangzhongyang's fighting power. Although Guangzhongyang is not as good as Guangzhongfei in terms of strength, in terms of fighting, he is somewhat like Guangzhongfei. All his battles were very crisp and clean. Although he only had the strength of a soul saint, he could easily kill contra-level sword spirits, and his combat power was off the charts. Chen Luo's fighting speed was fast enough, but he still couldn't compare with Guangzhongyang. Whether it's the 7-killing sword or the demon-slaying sword, swordsmanship geniuses like them all possess terrifying combat power. Compared with his brother Guangzhongfei's demon-slaying sword, Guangzhongyang's demon-slaying sword lacks the explosive attack characteristics, but has more power to cut through everything. Guangzhongfei's attacks basically have explosive characteristics. The bloody aura created by his demon-slaying sword can explode, thereby releasing powerful power and causing huge damage to the target. Guangzhongyang's attack was to concentrate his power on one point and cut through everything. In Chen Luo's impression, Guangzhongyang also has the long-range attack ability of his brother Guangzhongfei. He can control his demon-slaying sword to attack targets from a distance, or release a blade similar to an energy form to attack targets. But Guangzhongyang rarely uses these abilities. Most of them are close combat, using the most direct attack methods. The soul skills he uses only increase his own strength and speed. He seems to enjoy this more for the traditional way of fighting. Moreover, his fighting method is very effective, especially against those sword spirits. The damage done by energy attacks to those sword spirits seems not to be as high as this traditional attack. Every time Guangzhongyang's sword falls, it can cause huge damage to the sword spirits. It is obviously such a mediocre attack. In order to verify this conjecture, Chen Luo paid special attention to the details of Guangzhongyang's battles. Guangzhongyang also has 1 or 2 soul skills to enhance himself. After obtaining the enhancements of those soul skills, his strength and speed increase greatly, and because of the special nature of the undead, there is no time limit. He has a very deep understanding of the way of the sword, and even the simplest attacks can produce effects similar to soul skills. I saw Guangzhongyang rushing towards the new sword spirit. His figure was very fast and he came to the sword spirit in an instant. Then he attacked the sword spirit from 4 directions, achieving a true 4 break in 1 second. The strength of sword spirit is not limited, after all, it is close to the peak contra level of title Douluo. 3 of Guangzhongyang's 4 attacks were directly blocked by sword spirit, and Guangzhongyang seemed to know that sword spirit was powerful. Those 3 attacks were all virtual, and only 1 attack was real and concentrated. All power. But this time the real attack fell directly on the sword spirit, directly cutting the sword spirit into 2 halves. The sword spirit's body recovered quickly, but it was also much more unrealistic. It was obvious that he had suffered huge injuries. Chen Luo could be sure that Guangzhongyang had just completed a most ordinary attack without using any soul skills. The reason why the attack had such an effect was entirely due to Guangzhongyang's own strength. It can also be seen from the situation just now that normal attacks seem to be able to cause greater damage to the sword spirit. Chen Luo immediately followed the instructions, no longer using those fancy attacks, but the simplest and most direct attack. He quickly rushed in front of the two sword spirits, swung the scythe of death and slashed at one sword spirit. The sword spirit successfully completed the block. Chen Luo immediately swung the death scythe and slashed to the side, but was still blocked by another undead. Normal attacks may really achieve greater attack effects, but they also have to successfully attack the sword spirit. Chapter 239 Lu Distribution. I'm working hard on typing, so I'll update it now. Just refresh it later. Bibi Dong, a character in the otherworldly continental fantasy novel Douluo and its derivative works written by the third son of the Tang family, the last pope of the Wuhan Palace, the founding queen and the last emperor of the Wuhan Empire. 1, 2, a first-level god, Rakshasa god, the third person to become a god on Douluo continent in 2 years. 3, 4, and one of the 10 killing gods in the Killing City. 5, the twin martial souls Death Spider Emperor and Soul-Eating Spider Emperor. 6, 7, are the second twin martial souls in history. 8, and the first person to solve the problem of twin martial souls with multiple soul rings whose additional attributes exceed the physical endurance limit. 9, 10. The youngest title Douluo before Tang Sen, and the youngest level 99 peak peerless Douluo 4. Chinese name Bibi Dong, also known as Saint, Pope, Queen, Rakshasa god, dubbed by Lin Su. Animation, 11, gender, female. The debut work Douluo and its derivative works 12, 13, 14, related videos more, a total of 124 entries. Fast navigation, 9, 17, 1, 2, 18, 8, 10, 99, 19, 1010, 20, 21, 22, 2, 7. The animated image looks like Pope Bibi Dong of Wuhan Palace is of short stature. He wears a golden long dress that fits perfectly from head to toe. The dazzling dress sparkles with more than 100 red, blue, and gold gemstones. The 9 curved purple gold crown on the head is even more radiant. In his hand is a scepter about 2 meters long and inlaid with countless gems. Her fair skin and almost perfect face make her look so unique, especially the invisible nobility and sanctity exuded from his body makes people unable to help but feel the emotion of worshipping him. 6 photos in total. Bibi Dong is so amazingly beautiful, noble, elegant, and tranquil. All kinds of beautiful words seem to be applied to this woman. Although she is no longer young, the traces of time do not seem to have left on her. 9, 23. Rakshasa god Bibi Dong's appearance has changed greatly. She used to be so noble and stunning, but after becoming a god, Bibi Dong only exudes a rich and strong evil aura. It is not an exaggeration to describe her with a green face and fangs. The cyan face is in sharp contrast to the purple armor. Her armor is covered with a layer of purple energy with an evil flavor. 4 huge scythes extend from both sides of her back. 4 characteristics. Bibi Dong is soft on the outside and strong on the inside. Beneath her soft appearance is a proud heart. 9. She will never allow anyone to put herself above herself. 24. Bibi Dong has always been approachable to the outside world, and only a master can make waves in her heart. 25. But even so, Bibi Dong is the one who rules the Wuhan Palace and strives to achieve the unfinished goals and ambitions of his predecessors. His personal feelings will not affect the overall situation. 26. Bibi Dong is a perfectionist. In order to reach the limit of the soul ring ratio of the second martial spirit, she concealed the existence of the second martial spirit until she succeeded to the position of Pope and could obtain the most resources. A secret, and this character also made Bibi Dong the strongest pope in the history of Wuhan Palace. 10.2 photos in total. Bibi Dong is not a person who indulges her emotions. She is good at forbearing, whether it is her body being taken away by her teacher Jin's Unji 27, or she has a peak soul power of level 99 but is in Tang Hao to the restrictions of the Rakshasa divine examination. Even though her hands were deflated 28, 19, she remained unmoved and waited to be sorted out later. Bibi Dong will directly kill subordinates who are not doing their job well according to her temper. However, rather than following her temper, she considers the overall situation more and will kill because of the needs of the plan. 29. Jin's Unji is the shadow of Bibi Dong's life. His behavior of destroying Bibi Dong's feelings made Bibi Dong's heart swallowed up by evil. 30, and became extremely extreme. He believed that every life in the world was evil and wanted revenge. Everyone in this world. 31. Analysis. As the Pope in Douluo, why does Bibi Dong have trouble getting along with children? Yanshin's animation nest like 53. Read 6917, 9998, 19, 32, 33, 4. 3099, 24, 34. 2. After the Rakshasa god completed the 9 Rakshasa examinations, Bibi Dong broke through level 99, surpassing the rules 35, and became the first level god Rakshasa god. 4. Bibi Dong received the inheritance at level 99, so her divine power is far stronger than that of ordinary first level gods. 34. The god inherited by Bibi Dong is called Rakshasa, a first level god among the dark gods. 16. Among the gods of evil thoughts, he is in charge of evil thoughts, controls the power of evil, and restricts each other with the god Xiao, who is in charge of killing. 36. The Rakshasa god can obtain the darkest and most evil thoughts from living or dead creatures, and condense them into the power of the Rakshasa god. The divine power of the Rakshasa god has a strong oppressive force on most gods. The evil thoughts are much more terrifying than the power of assimilation in the angelic divine power. As long as it is contaminated a little, it requires huge divine thoughts to expel it. 34. Martial spirit. Bibi Dong is a twin martial spirit. Both martial spirits are demonic spider-like martial arts. She is the spider king among demonic spiders and the emperor of insect-like soul beasts. 7. Spiders are not insects, but the original text is insects. Subject to the original animal classification, Bibi Dong can directly switch the martial soul's true body, instead of needing to take back the released martial soul's true body, switch martial souls, and then cast the second martial soul's true body. 19. Like ordinary twin martial arts, the biggest disadvantage of twin martial souls is that the number of soul rings exceeding that of ordinary soul masters results in their own attributes increasing too much and the body cannot bear it. Bibi Dong used a special method to share her excessively improved attributes. So she started practicing two martial arts at the same time very early. 10. The first martial spirit. Bibi Dong's first martial spirit is called Death Spider Emperor. When used, the skin of the upper body is covered with a layer of purple-black armor, and even the face is covered by a carapace under the eyes. There are also 4 small eyes that have grown out when used, the legs disappear and the abdomen turns into a huge round sphere downwards. 8 thick long legs grew from the sphere, driving her body to walk as fast as flying. There were large green hairs growing on them and disgusting mucus when dripping to the ground. It constantly makes a popping sound and is strongly corroded. Let Bibi Dong look like a huge poisonous spider. 6. The Death Spider King's soul ring ratio is yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red. 6, of which the first, second, and fifth soul skills are not mentioned in the original work. 3 photos in total. Chapter 240, First Use of Magic Circle. Everyone's eyes were focused on the long sword condensed by energy crystals, and they could all clearly sense the energy changes after the energy crystal turned into a long sword. When the energy crystals condensed into a mini version of the long sword, the overall energy increased, but when those mini versions of the long sword condensed together into the current long sword, the energy shrank. This change suddenly caused all people's attention. Guangshongyang said, "What is going on? According to the previous changes in the shape of the energy crystals, wouldn't the energy increase exponentially? Why now that all the energy crystals are gathered together, the energy not only does not increase, but the energy decreases?" Yu Yao nodded lightly. "I also feel that there is something wrong with the changes in this energy. Logically speaking, the more the better, isn't it? Is it possible that there is a limit to the number of energy crystals that can be condensed? This should be unlikely." After Chen Luo felt the energy change of the long sword, his expression changed slightly, but he quickly returned to normal. "Everyone, don't just focus on sensing the energy changes in the long sword. You can try to detect the energy reserve in the long sword." After hearing this, everyone immediately followed the instructions, and soon everyone's expressions changed from solemn confusion to unexpected surprise. "The size of this energy storage is too terrifying." While Liang Heo said, "The energy crystal itself is like a container for storing energy. The same is true for the small sword transformed by the energy crystal, and even more so for the long sword in front of you. The energy storage space of the long sword is already far greater than the combined storage space of all small swords, and it has doubled again." While Liang Heo's strength and perception are relatively weak among everyone, even he can see some tricks, and others can naturally see it. Duan Xiaoyu nodded and smiled slightly, while Liang Heo's description is very appropriate. Energy crystals, small swords, and long swords are all containers for storing energy. They possess some energy themselves, and can also obtain energy from the world. The energy storage of energy crystals and small swords is relatively limited, so when they appear and form, the energy is filled instantly. The energy storage of the longsword is relatively large, and it takes a certain amount of time to complete the energy storage, and part of the lost energy is probably used to expand the energy storage space. Everyone is right. The general situation is like this. I just don't know whether this thing is a disposable item or whether it can be used continuously. If it can continue to store energy after use, that would be perfect. Chen Luo. Guang's Huangfei's voice suddenly sounded from behind. It has the same properties as energy crystals, it will disappear after use. Fine. Chen Luo said, then we can use this thing later. It is necessary. It is most cost-effective to use it after the energy is stored. Maybe we will meet the sword spirit or something similar to the sword spirit later, and we can further evolve the longsword and obtain a larger energy storage container. Guang's Hongyang said immediately. When everyone heard the words, there was no objection. The undead present were once relatively powerful beings, with their judgment and analytical abilities, and sometimes their insights in certain aspects were far stronger than Chen Luo's. Having such a group of teammates is truly comfortable, and Chen Luo can even choose to lie down. Black Curse said at this time, Boss, you can try to add an energy condensation array to the longsword. It may speed up the energy condensation speed of the longsword, but it will be a bit difficult. After all, the longsword is quite special. During the battle just now, Black Curse, like Gong's Hongfei, had never taken action, but when it came to some details, Black Curse would also give warnings. Moreover, the Black Curse requires Chen Luo to try to add the magic circle himself, rather than him providing a one-stop service for Chen Luo. Chen Luo nodded immediately after hearing this. Okay, I'll give it a try. After experiencing the bone burial ground, Chen Luo's harvest from the magic circle has been greatly improved, all thanks to the stone tablets in the bone burial ground. Now Chen Luo has also begun to continuously study the evil soul master's magic formations, and thanks to the stone tablets' development of his magic formation talents, he can further modify and improve the evil soul master's magic formations. Get a stronger magic circle. With his soul power concentrated at his fingertips, Chen Luo could draw the magic circle directly without even murmuring those complicated and mysterious incantations, and he was still drawing it directly on the long sword. Every time Chen Luo's fingers waved, some energy fluctuations would occur, and some gray lines gradually appeared on the long sword. Those gray lines were connected together in an extremely clever way, eventually forming a complicated array, and then sank directly into the sword. The longsword originally had a strong ability to gather energy. After being amplified by Chen Luo's spirit-gathering array, the speed of energy gathering more than doubled. When Chen Luo completed the drawing of the magic circle and used it on the long sword, everyone was able to sense the changes in the energy fluctuations of the long sword. They all looked at Chen Luo in surprise, including Gong's Hongfei. Only Black Curse looked the calmest, with a bit of relief and a hint of envy in his eyes. It's done. Chen Luo smiled subconsciously. The moment he witnessed the completion of the magic circle, Chen Luo's inner joy could no longer be suppressed. The ability to use and the ability to master are completely different things. When you complete something with your own hands, the joy from the heart is unparalleled. All the undead were aware of Chen Luo's ability to use the magic circle, but they were all a little surprised when they saw Chen Luo actually using the magic circle. Surprised, no one stood up and said a lot of nonsense. Even Guang's Honggang, who always talked a lot, seemed relatively calm at this time. Keep going. Chen Luo said. Yes. Everyone responded. They had just arrived at the sword tomb and encountered a group of undead. Looking at it, the cave-like sword tomb was extremely wide, and the adventure had just begun. The road in the cave is quite spacious, and even if Chen Luo and his party walked together, it would not be crowded. As they continued to move forward, they discovered that the surrounding environment had changed slightly. The most noticeable thing is that many of the long swords scattered throughout the cave have disappeared. When they came to the cave, at first glance, there were all kinds of long swords everywhere. But as they went deeper, they found that there were not that many long swords. The less. It was as if what they saw at first was an illusion, or those long swords existed like phantoms and were dissipating at this time. Although the number of long swords is decreasing, the smell of rust that permeates the cave is getting stronger. Chapter 241 Sword Demon. When Chen Luo and the others first entered the cave, they saw the long swords and smelled the smell of rust. Because not all long swords can maintain their original appearance and remain sharp as always, most of the long swords have been rusted and corroded, and the smell of rust is emanating from those long swords. At this time, Chen Luo and the others rarely saw those rusty and corroded swords anymore, but the smell of rust became stronger. It was so strong that it gave people the feeling of being in the middle of rust. The smell was a bit choking and uncomfortable. Chen Luo and the others had already used their soul power to isolate the smell, otherwise they wouldn't be able to bear it. The number of long swords is indeed decreasing, but the remaining ones are all high quality. Each sword looks extremely delicate. It clearly gives people the feeling that it has been around for many years, but in appearance it looks like it was not long ago. As if built. And it is precisely in this situation that the presence of the rust smell seems rather strange, seeming to prove that there were once countless rusty swords here, but they were corroded by the passage of time and finally disappeared from the world. After advancing for a while, Chen Luo and the others soon encountered a second difficulty. This time it was no longer the sword spirit, but a sword demon that was twice as powerful as the sword spirit. I saw that the whole body of the sword demon was gray, and like the sword spirit, it existed like a shadow, and its face could not be seen clearly, but overall it looked much clearer than the sword spirit. They both held a gray long sword, which was different from their bodies. Correspondingly, it's like the gray sword was taken from their bodies. For Chen Luo and the others, difficulties and dangers represent gains and improvements. Isn't that why they came all the way here? After seeing the sword demon, everyone became excited again, and everyone immediately entered a fighting state. In addition to the excitement, everyone seemed more cautious, and their seriousness was much higher than when they faced the sword spirit before. After all, the strength of the sword demon is far greater than that of the sword spirit. The double strength gap is no joke. These sword demons already have the strength of title Douluo. Fortunately, the number of sword demons was much smaller, otherwise it would be very difficult for Chen Luo and the others to face them. There are only 20 sword demons, 10 less than the 30 sword spirits, which puts a lot less pressure on Chen Luo and the others. If there are the same 30 sword spirits, the pressure will be too much. If it's too big, if nothing else, it would be difficult for Li Feng and Bian Lu to contain too many sword demons. After everyone was ready to fight, Anan controlled Li Feng and Bian Lu to test the sword demon. He wanted to determine whether the sword demon had a certain hatred distance like the sword spirit. As long as he did not cross the boundary, he would not arouse the hatred of the sword demon. This feels like playing a game. You need to test the hatred of wild monsters step by step. Whether it is sword spirit or sword demon, their settings themselves have certain rules, and their number and strength are all set. Okay, Li Feng and Bian Lu were the first to bear the brunt, and soon arrived 5 meters in front of the sword demon. The sword demon still didn't react at all. They stood there like statues. However, when Anan controlled Li Feng and Bian Lu to take another step forward, the 3 sword demons at the front made moves at the same time. I saw 3 sword demons rushing towards Li Feng and Bian Lu quickly. The speed was so fast that it was far beyond the comparison of the sword spirits they had encountered before. Li Feng and Bian Lu immediately activated the martial soul fusion skill Moen, and their momentum instantly rose to its peak. Unfortunately, their martial soul fusion skill did not have any negative effects on sword demon and the others, it could only improve own. This phenomenon had already been seen when they dealt with the sword spirit before. The demonic abyss originally had a strong control effect and could provide a strong weakening buff to the target, but when it fell on the sword spirit, it was unable to take effect or any effect. At the moment, the magic abyss is used on the sword demon in the same way. Chen Luo and the others, who have already experienced it, are no longer surprised after seeing such a situation. The battle between Li Feng and Bian Lu and the 3 sword demons was about to break out. After getting the boost from the boss, Li Feng and Bian Lu's strength was close to the peak Douluo level. And they have activated Susanoo. Both of them are in a huge energy body, controlling the energy body to fight 3 sword demons. The strength of the sword demon has greatly improved compared to the sword spirit. This can be seen from the battle between Li Feng and Bian Lu and the sword demon. Previously, after Li Feng and Bian Lu opened the demonic abyss, they were able to hold on to the sword spirit. Even if the number of sword spirits was slightly larger, it didn't matter. They could still hold it and have complete control. At the moment, Li Feng and Bian Lu only faced 3 sword demons, and they were already starting to look evenly matched. If there were 1 or 2 more sword demons, Li Feng and Bian Lu would probably be at a disadvantage. The strength of the title Douluo level is just Chen Luo's rough judgment of the sword demon. The sword demon's real combat power is obviously higher than that of the ordinary title Douluo. Even though on the surface it seems that the fighting methods of sword demon and Lao are similar, They fight in close quarters and occasionally release a few energy blades. However, the sword demon's strength, speed, and other aspects have been greatly improved. The improvements in these aspects are not just as simple as doubling the strength, but multiplying it. The three sword demons attacked Li Feng and Bian Lu together, and at some point they were even able to repel Li Feng and Bian Lu, causing some damage. If the fusion between the sword spirit and the long sword is very high, which can be described as the integration of the human sword into one, then the fusion between the sword demon and the long sword is even higher. It seems that the two do not need to be fused anymore. They seem to be one body exist. I saw a sword demon rushing in front of the energy bodies controlled by Bian Lu and Li Feng. It was just a mediocre sword slash, but it was able to cause huge movement and directly force Li Feng and Bian Lu back. Moreover, Li Feng and Bian Lu also had tempers and immediately fought back. The energy bodies controlled by Li Feng and Bian Lu held black moon blades and swung towards the sword demon. The terrifying power and speed made it impossible for the sword demon to dodge, and could only forcefully absorb this attack. The sword demon immediately paid the price for his attack on Li Feng and Bian Lu. The Suzuo created by Li Feng and Bian Lu is no joke. The power is very terrifying. The sword demon's body instantly became illusory. It seems that if he is attacked by Li Feng and Bian Lu a few more times, he will directly disappear in this world. The other two sword demons were not idle either. When Li Feng and Bian Lu dealt a huge blow to the sword demon, the two sword demons immediately attacked Li Feng, Bian Lu and the others. However, Li Feng and Bian Lu, who had some fighting experience, reacted very quickly. This time they did not directly choose to withstand the attack of the sword demons, but used the huge black moon blade to attack and complete the defense. The battle continued. After Chen Luo saw the strength of the sword demons, he no longer waited for Li Feng and Bian Lu to capture the sword demons. They took the initiative to find their targets. Chapter 242 Absolute Restraint. Li Feng and Bian Lu were fighting three sword demons at the same time. As far as the current situation was concerned, Li Feng and Bian Lu still had absolute control over the battle situation. It was only a matter of time before they could deal with the three sword demons. The problem lies in time. Li Feng and Bian Lu were unable to kill the sword demon in an instant, and the sword demon would not stop dying after choosing a target. Li Feng and Bian Lu could not allocate the sword demon at all, and could only choose to continue the battle to the end. The only way was to kill the sword demon first. Behead. Chen Luo and the others realized this, so they did not wait any longer, nor did they forcefully join Li Feng and Bian Lu in the battle with the sword demon. If you rush into the melee, it is easy to be unable to help and to be held back. The best choice is to fight the sword demons yourself. There are more than a dozen sword demons waiting for them over there. For Chen Luo and the others, they were the trophies of the expedition. Only by killing them could Chen Luo and the others move on and enjoy the other scenery in the sword tomb. Different from the previous way of fighting the sword spirit, Chen Luo and the others no longer fight alone. Those who are strong can fight the sword spirit one-on-one, while those who are weak can only fight in groups. It's a good thing to challenge yourself, but you also have to weigh your own strength. If you have to forcefully fight a battle that you can't win, you will only end up dead in the end. It is obviously wise to fight in a group, at least the safety is guaranteed, and it can also train each other's tacit understanding. Not everything is static. Anything can happen during the adventure, which tests the explorer's adaptability. Chen Luo, Guangshonggang, the nine-tailed demon fox Aaron, and the two-horned python all chose the sword demon to fight one-on-one. Several other people, even Yu Yao and Duan Xiaoyu who were at the Contra level, did not choose to take risks. Instead, they formed a team with their teammates, with 2 to 3 people in a team, to fight the sword demon. It was too late, but it was too late. From the time Li Feng and Bian Lu started fighting the sword demon to Chen Luo's choice and entry into the battle, it only took a few dozen seconds. At this time, Chen Luo was already fighting a sword demon. The title Douluo level sword demon was indeed very powerful. As soon as the fight started, Chen Luo immediately felt a strenuous feeling. The strength and speed of the sword demon are obviously not on the same level as the sword spirit. Chen Luo thinks that his speed has reached the extreme, but he still has some difficulty when facing the sword demon. He can only say that it is barely enough. Kayang. The sword demon's long sword fell on Chen Luo's death side, and the terrifying power instantly knocked Chen Luo back, followed by an endless attack. Chen Luo could only choose to block passively, and was repelled by the sword demon again and again. Chen Luo didn't know when he fell into this strange circle. As soon as he started fighting, he inexplicably got into the sword demon's fighting rhythm, and his situation seemed very passive. The boots of death have provided Chen Luo with extremely terrifying speed, but they have not been able to help Chen Luo get out of the current predicament. Fortunately, Chen Luoxin obtained the Eye of Death. With the help of the Eye of Death, Chen Luo was able to slow down all the movements of the sword demon so that he could take the most correct operation. Otherwise, Chen Luo's situation would only be worse of discomfort. Even with the insight of the Eye of Death, Chen Luo's best choice was still to block. He had not found a suitable counterattack opportunity for the time being, mainly because the sword demon's attack was too fierce. Just now, Chen Luo was secretly sighing in his mind that Gong Zhongyang's attack was as smooth as silk. Now he can feel this feeling. Sword demon's attack is also so smooth. We can't continue like this, we have to disrupt his rhythm. Chen Luo thought to himself, and immediately looked for opportunities. He also has soul control skills. The third soul skill, Shadow Binding, is an excellent soul control skill. However, the control effect will be very weak when used on the sword demon. The time that can be created for him is very little. Can he change the current situation? The current situation depends on the shadow restraint. Chen Luo has not used it because he is not absolutely sure. If he uses it incorrectly, he will suffer heavy losses, but now he can only try his best. If the shadow restraint has no control over the sword demon, then the sword demon's long sword will fall directly on Chen Luo. Not all skills can be used for granted, and they must be weighed based on the actual situation. If shadow binding could easily break the situation, Chen Luo would have used this move to turn the situation around. I was still hesitant before, but now I am determined to use it. Kayang. The sword demon's attack fell again, and Chen Luo successfully blocked it. The moment the sword demon's long sword came into contact with Chen Luo's death side, Chen Luo immediately activated the shadow restraint. Countless shadows surged out and bound the sword demon tightly in an instant. The shadow restraint still had certain control capabilities, and the control effect was much better than Chen Luo imagined. The second Chen Luo released the shadow restraint, he was already forced back by the sword demon's strong power, and he used his backhand to arrange a violent thunder and flame slash. The sword demon's reaction was also very fast. Almost as soon as he was controlled by the shadow restraint, he immediately forcibly broke the shadow restraint. Indeed, as Chen Luo thought, the sword demon was too powerful, and the effect of the shadow restraint was really very limited. The sword demon just exploded with the power of his body and shattered all the shadows on his body, and got rid of its control. But Chen Luo was still very satisfied with this. The little time that shadow binding had created for him was enough. As his strength increased, Chen Luo became more and more comfortable using the crazy thunder and flame slash. In the past, it took a long time to accumulate power, and he had to suffer from the negative effects of the crazy thunder and flame slash. Now, it has become extremely difficult to change those shortcomings. In just a few seconds, Chen Luo completed the condensation of the crazy thunder and fire slash. Dark blue light gradually emerged on the death side that was originally covered by the hellfire. The hellfire also became more powerful. In an instant, reached its extreme. After the sword demon got rid of the shackles of the shadow, he immediately rushed towards Chen Luo. Chen Luo decisively released a crazy thunder and flame slash, and added an additional skill from the Eye of Death, Soul Blow. The black hellfire surged out from the death side and turned into a moon blade. It had an extremely perfect arc and carried extremely terrifying and violent power. The sword demon rushing towards Chen Luo happened to bump into Chen Luo's crazy thunder flame slash. Before the two collided, the fire of hell began to rage, and an extremely terrifying explosion occurred. After the hellfire exploded, there was the power of lightning hidden in the hellfire. Countless dark blue thunder and lightning danced wildly, and another horrific explosion occurred. In the process of going up the mountain, Chen Luo devoured a lot of lightning power, and the power of the crazy thunder flame slash has been further improved. This can be seen from the fact that he killed two sword spirits in one blow. At this time, the crazy thunder explosive flame slash was just the appetizer. Chen Luo's eyes suddenly turned gray. Extremely terrifying pressure burst out from Chen Luo's body. An extremely terrifying invisible force instantly locked the person who was hit by the crazy thunder explosive flame. Killed the sword demon who was overwhelmed by the explosion. Behind the sword demon, a huge gray scythe suddenly appeared, and it suddenly swung down, killing the sword demon directly. Chapter 243, Soul Hunting can also be used. The dissipation of the sword demon immediately attracted everyone's attention. They all looked at Chen Luo in surprise, with surprise on their faces and some doubts in their eyes. One sentence can be read from their expressions: what just happened? Even Chen Luo himself was a little surprised. He actually killed the sword demon like this? Chen Luo knew very well that the skill he used to kill the sword demon was not the violent thunder and flame slash that he had always thought was the strongest, but the soul blow from the Eye of Death. This was also the first time Chen Luo used the soul strike of Eye of Death. The special effects displayed by the skill were a little different from what he imagined. The soul blow in Chen Luo's imagination should be a skill that looks ordinary on the outside. It uses its own powerful soul power and then uses the power of the Eye of Death to directly hit the target. Unexpectedly, Soul Blow could actually summon another Grey Death Scythe, causing substantial damage to the target. What I didn't even expect was that the damage of Soul Blow was actually so high. The crazy Thunder Flame Slash, which has been strengthened by absorbing the power of countless thunder and lightning, is already very powerful, but at most it can only cause huge damage to the sword demon, and it does not have the ability to kill the sword demon instantly. But what the crazy Thunder Flame Slash failed to do, the Soul Blow actually did. Chen Luo came to the place where the sword demon dissipated and picked up an energy crystal as big as a palm. The sword demon was stronger than the sword spirit. The energy crystals that exploded after death were larger than the sword spirit. He felt that the energy crystal was full of energy. Chen Luo suddenly felt a familiar energy breath. The power of the soul. Chen Luo glanced at the energy crystal from the sword demon with some surprise, and instantly understood why his soul punch could instantly kill the sword demon. The sword demon itself is a special soul body, and soul blow is a skill specifically targeted at the soul, so it can restrain the sword demon to a great extent and maximize the damage of the skill. I'll try soul blow later. If it really works, I'll feel good. After Chen Luo used soul blow, his eyes stung a little. He would definitely not be able to use it again in a short time. If he continued to use it, his eyes would probably be destroyed. Moreover, the soul blow consumes a lot of mental energy. Even if Chen Luo has enough mental power, he cannot withstand the waste of the soul blow. If they are really soul bodies, can my awakening and soul hunting also be used on them? Chen Luo suddenly had another thought in his mind, and he also had the idea of putting it into action. Put the sword demon's energy crystal and the energy crystal sword together, and the two merge instantly. The color of the energy crystal sword becomes darker, and the energy in it also increases a bit, but it still takes a long time to automatically replenish energy. Chen Luo has always been an action person. After taking care of the spoils, he immediately looked towards Li Feng and Bian Lu. At this time, they were about to end the battle. They had already killed 2 of the 3 sword demons, and there was still the last one left. One is also close to dissipating. Keep that one for me, Chen Luo said. Li Feng and Bian Lu immediately followed suit, controlling the energy body to imprison the sword demon in their hands and deliver it to Chen Luo. At this time, everyone's eyes were focused on Chen Luo. Just now, Chen Luo had already attracted everyone's attention when he instantly transformed into a sword demon. From then on, everyone's eyes stayed on Chen Luo, even his hands. The battles on the battlefield began to become perfunctory. Under the gaze of everyone, Chen Luo came to the sword demon. Looking at this special creature that existed like a phantom, Chen Luo didn't hesitate too much and first arranged for the sword demon to wake up. Chen Luo swung the death scythe violently, and the blade instantly sank into the sword demon's body, but it did not trigger his awakening. Chen Luo couldn't feel the slightest change in energy, and his previous blow only caused some slight damage to the sword demon. It seems that waking up is impossible, but it doesn't matter. You can try hunting for souls. Chen Luo waved the death scythe again, and the blade of the death scythe sank into the sword demon's body again. On the surface, the actions of soul hunting and awakening are the same. They are both extremely simple swings of the death scythe to attack the target. But in fact, the two are very different. Whether it's waking up or hunting souls, they all have extremely complex and mysterious processes. It's just because of Chen Luo's special nature that he skipped those processes and used them directly. Compared to the lack of response when he woke up just now, he received a violent response as soon as the soul hunting was activated. The moment the death scythe sank into the sword demon's body, an extremely powerful devouring ability exploded. The sword demon's body began to tremble violently, and his body instantly became more illusory. All the energy in it was driven crazy by Chen Luo through the death scythe absorption. In just an instant, the already extremely weak sword demon finally collapsed, leaving an energy crystal behind for Chen Luo. Chen Luo could clearly feel the energy from the sword demon. The soul hunting was successful, but the efficiency was a bit low. The hunting soul can indeed devour the sword demon, but the energy it can obtain is extremely limited. Instead of using the hunting soul to devour the sword demon, it is better to directly kill the sword demon and absorb the sword demon's energy crystals, which can be more efficient. The reason why the sword demon was able to explode the energy crystal in the end was precisely because Chen Luo's hunting soul could not completely absorb the sword demon's energy. There seems to be a kind of restriction in the body of the sword demon, which seals all the energy in the energy crystal. Even if others devour the sword demon, it will be difficult to completely destroy it without killing the sword demon and obtaining its energy crystal. Devouring. It is possible to hunt souls, but the efficiency is too low and it is not necessary. It is better to wait until you can master Soul Strike before using Soul Strike to hunt down the sword demon. Chen Luo picked up the energy crystal of the sword demon and fused the energy crystal with a long sword, just like before. Then he let Li Feng and Bai and Lu continue to move freely while he began to choose new sword demons as targets. All Chen Luo's actions were done under everyone's watch. At this time, many people were already doubtful, but because the battle was still going on, they kept it in their hearts. After a while, Chen Luo was already fighting the new sword demon. Finding a suitable target and successfully introducing the target to the battlefield is also a technical job, because if you are not careful, you will trigger the hatred of other sword demons. When the time comes, if there are one enemy and many, you will be dead. Fortunately, your teammates are around. Remedies can be made promptly. In the first round of assigning sword demons, Yu Yao made a mistake and attracted 2 sword demons. He could only fight with multiple teammates. It was difficult for him to fight one-on-one, let alone one-on-two. The battle continued, and others had already solved the battle at hand and began to fight the new sword demon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244 Gong's Honggang breaks through. Among everyone's battles, apart from Xiao Wu's battle, Chen Luo paid more attention to the battle of the nine-tailed demon fox Aaron. The nine-tailed demon fox Arlene's fighting method is quite special, similar to close combat with energy bursts. There is a layer of black energy attached to the surface of Aaron's body, especially in her hands. Those energies can bring extremely powerful power to Aaron. Even the most ordinary attacks can cause damage to the sword demon. Huge damage. Judging from the appearance alone, the characteristics displayed by Arlene are similar to those when Chen Luo turned on immortality, except that the energy in Arlene is more powerful and restrained. If the black energy in Arlene's body existed in the form of flame, then Chen Luo would even doubt whether Arlene could also be the fire of hell. But obviously, the two are completely different existences. Arlene is good at illusion attacks, but illusions are not very suitable in the current battle. Sword spirits and sword demons seem to be immune to illusions. Fortunately, Arlene's abilities are not limited to illusions. Her current fighting method also looks very powerful. Oh, by the way, after Arlene entered this fighting state, her body underwent some changes. For example, her ears turned into fluffy black fox ears, her nails became longer and sharper, and there were more nails behind her. 3 tails. The number of tails seems to determine Aaron's current combat effectiveness. Chen Luo noticed that Aaron exploded with 5 tails at certain critical moments. How does this feel like Naruto using the power of 9 trumpets? Maybe the only difference is that the color of the energy is different, and Arlene is a 9-tailed demon fox. After completing the energy possession, Arlene's battle was the simplest and crudest melee combat, without using any fancy skills. She can catch the sword demon's sword with both hands, and can also block the sword demon's attack with her nails. Her speed and strength have reached the extreme. As long as the sword demon's attack rhythm is interrupted, then it will be Aaron's personal operation show. Arlene, who looked extremely fragile, was not ambiguous at all when fighting. After the sword demon received Arlene's first punch, he followed up with a violent attack. After knocking the sword demon away with one punch, Arlene caught up with him at a faster speed and completed a roundhouse kick in mid-air, knocking the sword demon directly into the ground. Then Arlene suddenly fell from midair and stepped on the sword demon. A fierce punch hit the sword demon's head. The series of attacks were connected perfectly, and Arlene's attacks were not fancy. It was obvious that the sword demon's body had become much more unreal. If you look carefully, you can find that when Arlene's fists and kicks fall on the sword demon, the black energy attached to Arlene's body will explode violently, raging crazily on the sword demon's body, performing a unique striking effect. This little fox from hell is quite ferocious. No wonder she was able to fight the 10-year-old soul beast Purgatory Spider King Kylie in the past and escape unscathed. In a battle of this level, Xiao Wu's role was already minimal. She herself knows this and will not do any self-righteous operations, adhering to the concept of rather doing nothing than making mistakes. At least for now, she has not held back the team, and can occasionally help clean the battlefield and collect the loot. There is no way. Xiao Wu's current strength is still too weak. It is a miracle to be able to fight with a sword spirit, but it is obviously impossible to fight with a sword demon. If Xiao Wu moves forward rashly, he will be killed by the sword demon in minutes. As the strongest soul beast that Chen Luo currently possesses, the double-horned giant python has relatively strong combat power. With its huge body, it can easily crush the sword demon. The defensive power of the two-horned python is very astonishing. The damage that the sword demon can do to it is minimal, and the speed of the wound is not as fast as the recovery speed. From this phenomenon, it is already destined that the sword demon is not the opponent of the two-horned python. Period. Of course, that was just the sword demon's normal attack. If the sword demon unleashed its skills, the two-horned python would still be somewhat unable to withstand it. The skills of the sword demon are exactly the same as those of the sword spirit, except that the sword demon's skills are far more powerful than the sword spirit. They both release sword blades to attack the target. The two-horned python is also a ruthless snake. It has no defense in the battle with the sword demon. Whether it is the sword demon's normal attack or its skills, the two-horned python directly chooses to resist. It is a fierce group. Period. The two-horned python used this method of exchanging injuries for injuries to deal with the sword demon at an extremely fast speed. It only dares to do this because it is an undead and possesses the powerful recovery characteristics of undead. Otherwise, it is undoubtedly an extremely stupid approach to kill 1,000 enemies and damage 800. Chen Luo was already fighting with the new sword demon at this time. After having a battle experience, he did a better job in handling the details of the battle with the sword demon. He no longer fell into the endless attack cycle of the sword demon. From the beginning of the battle, he used a set of skills such as shadow binding and black flame impact to gain himself the initiative to attack. Once he got the initiative to attack, there would be nothing wrong with the sword demon. Chen Luo attacked crazily, waiting for the cooldown of soul blow to finish. If he doesn't fight hard, he will soon fall into the sword demon's offensive rhythm again, and the battle situation will change in that matter of seconds. After frantically attacking for a period of time, Chen Luo's soul strike was finally ready again. He immediately used the Eyes of Death to launch a soul strike against the sword demon. Chen Luo's eyes suddenly turned gray, extremely terrifying pressure burst out from Chen Luo's body, and an extremely terrifying invisible force instantly locked onto the sword demon. Behind the sword demon, a huge gray scythe quietly appeared. The scythe fell, and the sword demon suddenly suffered extremely horrific injuries, and his body became extremely unreal. When Chen Luo saw this, he immediately stepped forward to supplement the attack and completely eliminated the sword demon. It seems that Soul Blow is not an instant kill skill. It must be paired with other skills or attacks. Chen Luo thought to himself, gaining a better understanding of the damage caused by the heavy blow to the soul. Before using Soul Blow, he launched an extremely crazy attack on the sword demon, which still caused some damage to the sword demon. After the Soul Blow was used, it did play a key role, but it was not enough to kill the sword demon directly. If it was used at the beginning, let alone, it could only severely damage the sword demon. When I killed the last sword demon, I used the Crazy Thunder Explosion Flame Slash plus the Soul Blow. The Crazy Thunder Explosion Flame Slash was also a killing move, and it must have caused a certain amount of damage to the sword demon, so I was able to kill the sword demon directly with 2 skills magic. After the sword demon dissipated, Chen Luo picked up the energy crystal exploded by the sword demon, placed it on the long sword, fused it instantly, and then prepared to find the next target. As soon as he took a step forward, he saw violent energy fluctuations occurring on Guangzhongyang's side. Guangzhongyang's strength suddenly became a lot stronger. The number of soul rings on his body increased from 7 to 8. The 8th soul ring was also gray. Guangzhonggyang actually made a breakthrough in the battle with this sword demon and entered the 80th level. Due to the characteristics of the undead, he automatically condensed the 8th soul ring and was directly promoted to Contra. This situation not only attracted Chen Luo's attention, but also the eyes of everyone present were attracted. Chapter 245 Guangzhonggyang's 8th soul skill. Guangzhonggyang has reached level 79 very early, and he is not far away from level. After experiencing the bone burial ground, he is only a hair away from level. Now he has been with Sword Spirit one after another. Sword Demon battle, breaking through the limit and entering level, is expected. Everyone knew the general situation of Guangzhonggyang, but when they saw Guangzhonggyang's slowly rising 8th soul ring, strange colors bloomed in their eyes. It's another gray soul ring, and it can be condensed in seconds. Even the steps to obtain the soul ring are omitted. Guangzhonggyang was only at level 69 when he was first resurrected. When he was promoted to level, he also automatically obtained the soul ring, and it is the same now. The color of the soul rings is gray. It is impossible to judge the age of the soul ring by its color, but it gives people a feeling of the best age because everyone can clearly feel the pressure from Guangzhonggyang's soul ring. This is the benefit of being Chen Luo's undead, being able to have more powerful power and a brighter future. With powerful recovery ability and inexhaustible power, even soul rings can be condensed automatically. Chen Luo had already witnessed the process of Guangzhonggyang obtaining the soul ring, and he was only slightly surprised when he saw it now. Others saw it for the first time, and their faces were more or less confused and shocked. Especially Liang Hao, who is not far away from the control level. When he saw Guangzhonggyang's promotion and seemed to see himself in the near future, he became a little excited. Xiao and the others are relatively better, but they also seem more excited. They have reached their own limits before them. Unless there is some adventure, they will not be able to break through to a new level in their lifetime. After becoming undead, everything is possible. Not only Guangzhonggyang is a dead soul who works very hard in cultivation, but other dead souls are also doing the same. They all have their own goals. Guangzhongfei, who had always been sarcastic towards Guangzhonggyang, unconsciously had a smile of relief on his scarred face after seeing Guangzhonggyang's breakthrough. Guangzhonggyang himself was extremely excited. He had once again broken through himself and reached a new level. All his previous efforts had been rewarded. Guangzhonggyang, who was originally a swordsman genius, had a talent that put Guangzhongfei and Chen Zin to shame, but in the end he went astray and became an evil soul master, ruining his future. In the end, he was died young, with reluctance and regret. Because of Chen Luo, Guangzhonggyang got a chance to be reborn. He cherished this hard-won opportunity very much. Although he usually looked like he was laughing and joking, he seemed a little careless, but he was actually the hardest working one among all the undead. He also has his own dream, to achieve his previous goal, to become a titled Douluo, and to reach the top step by step. Now he is getting closer and closer to his dream. It only took him less than 2 years to advance from Soul Emperor to Soul Douluo. This speed of improvement is already terrifying. Even Chen Luo, the cheater, feels that he is not as talented as Guangzhonggyang. The next second after completing the breakthrough, Guangzhonggyang's eyes fell on Chen Luo, his eyes full of gratitude. Chen Luo and the others were not idle either, continuing their own battles one by one, while Chen Luo also found a new target. At this time, Guangzhongfei, who had been silently watching the battle from behind, suddenly spoke, "Let me see your 8th soul skill." Guangzhonggyang was slightly startled when he heard this, and then immediately smiled and said, "Well done, brother." This short conversation once again drew everyone's attention to Guangzhonggyang. I saw Guangzhonggyang clenching the demon-slaying sword in his hand. The 8th soul ring on his body suddenly lit up, and a black aura rose up from his whole body, accompanied by a bit of gray. At that moment, Guangzhonggyang's momentum increased to a higher level again. Guangzhonggyang held the demon-slaying sword and waved it vigorously. At the same time, an extremely huge demon-slaying sword quietly appeared in the air and swung it simultaneously. Why does this scene feel inexplicably familiar? Isn't this Guangzhongfei's 9th soul skill, sword breaking heaven and earth? Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but show surprise, except Guangzhongfei, who showed a faint smile. That's right, Guangzhonggyang's 8th soul skill is sword breaking heaven and earth. He fully understood Guangzhongfei's sword intention, and based on this, he obtained his own sword breaking the world. This is talent. When Guangzhonggyang used his sword to break the world, he was not only targeting his target sword demon, but also all the remaining sword demons after the sword demon. The extremely vast and powerful sword energy burst out from Guangzhonggyang's demon-slaying sword. It seemed to have the power to cut through the world. Wherever the sword energy passed, everything turned into nothingness. What could the sword demon with the strength of the title Douluo do? They all perished under the sword breaking through the world. The entire sword tomb was violently affected, shaking slightly, and energy crystals from the sword demon were scattered on the ground. This power is so terrifying. Not only Chen Luo and the others were shocked, but even Guangzhonggyang, the person who released Jianbo Yuandi, was also shocked by the power of Jianbo Yuandi. However, Guangzhonggyang was the one who released the skill after all, and he quickly came to his senses with a faint smile on his face. It's probably because I incorporated the grey undead aura into Jianbo Yuandi, and it just acted as a restraint on those sword demons, so I was able to kill them all. Guangzhonggyang said with a smile. Hearing this, everyone slowly came back to their senses. They all noticed the grey aura emerging when Guangzhonggyang released his sword to break the world. It was so fierce, it almost scared me out of my wits. While Xiao laughed. Guangzhonggyang grinned, you will soon reach the Contra level, and you will definitely have a lot of people by then. Not as fierce as you, not as fierce as you. After some business exchanges, while Xiao continued to fight with Yu Yao against the sword demon they faced, and everyone else also continued to enter the battle. They had just been distracted to watch Guangzhonggyang's performance and were almost severely injured by the sword demon. It seemed that they would have to prepare in advance for future performances. It didn't take long for everyone to resolve the battle. They handed all the energy crystals to Chen Luo, and Chen Luo integrated those energy crystals into the long sword. At this time, the color of the energy crystal sword became darker and darker. It was originally transparent, but now it was faintly black, and the energy in it became more and more terrifying. Everyone congratulated Guangzhonggyang on his breakthrough, and also asked about Chen Luo's use of Soul Strike. Chen Luo briefly talked about the particularity of his skills and his speculation that the sword spirit sword demon might be a special soul body. None of the undead were surprised that Chen Luo was able to severely damage the soul body. Instead, they thought it was very normal. After experiencing the sword demon, they did not rush to move on, but began to distribute the spoils. Chapter 246. Promotion of all staff. When the last energy crystal from the sword demon sank into the long sword reacted extremely violently. The originally transparent long sword suddenly turned completely black. At that moment, an energy vortex was created around the long sword, which wildly devoured the energy from heaven and earth. In just a few seconds, all the energy was replenished and reached its limit. It was precisely because of this situation that Chen Luo didn't rush to move on. Instead, he asked everyone to gather together and start distributing the spoils. Originally, the growing loot had to wait for a long period of time before you could enjoy it, but this process was omitted due to some special changes, so it also entered the stage of direct distribution of loot. This special phenomenon naturally attracted everyone's attention. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on Guangzhongfei. This powerful being who had been to the sword tomb had the most to say about the various special changes in the sword tomb, right? Guangzhongfei still looked very calm under the gaze of everyone, and slowly said, I have never seen this phenomenon before. Chen Luo. Other people. Guangzhongfei continued, when I came here alone, I killed all the sword spirits and sword demons, harvested their energy crystals, and condensed them into an energy crystal long sword, but in the end the energy crystals, it took nearly 3 days for Shi Changjian's energy to be fully replenished. This is indeed the first time I have seen a situation like this where the energy is directly replenished by oneself. It may be related to the number of people we have come here, so some situations have also changed. Chen Luo and others nodded. Since they couldn't get a specific answer, there was no need to dwell on it any longer. They could all truly feel how terrifying the energy contained in the long sword condensed by the energy crystals was. The energy in it had indeed been replenished at that moment. Even if they continued to move forward, the energy in the sword would not change. It just so happens that everyone has experienced 2 difficulties in sword spirit and sword demon, so you can take a break and distribute the loot by the way, so that everyone can improve their strength. In this aspect of the distribution of spoils, there is no distribution problem. Chen Luo has the final say. All undead spirits, whether they are soul masters or soul beasts, can give priority to absorbing the energy in the sword as long as they are on the verge of a breakthrough. Among the dead soul masters, Guangzhongyang has already achieved a breakthrough. Yu and Duan Xiao are still a certain distance away from the breakthrough, and Weiliang Hao is about to break through to the soul Douluo level. Chen Luo was not stingy and directly asked Weiliang Hao to absorb the energy in the sword first to help him complete the breakthrough. In fact, the energy needed to Weiliang Hao was not much. It only took a few minutes to absorb it before reaching the critical point of breakthrough, and then he went to practice and break through. In order to give Weiliang Hao a better environment to break through, Chen Luo put him into the necromantic space. There is no existence among the dead soul beasts that is about to break through. Whether it is the veteran hell spider and the king of the earth, or the newly conquered ghost demon and the two-horned giant python, they are still far away from the breakthrough. So then it's time to distribute it evenly. Each undead can be allocated a certain amount of energy to improve its own strength. Of course, it is impossible to be absolutely fair. The speed and amount of energy absorbed by each undead is different, so this cannot be done exactly. Of course, the undead didn't have any objections. They were very happy to be able to distribute the energy. Even if Chen Luo took all the energy for himself, the undead would not have any objections. Chen Luo's current need for energy was not particularly strong. He only absorbed the small part and then distributed all the energy to the undead. Xiao Wu also received some energy. She also knew how to exercise restraint and did not risk her future career for the sake of immediate promotion. The undead don't have to worry about this. After they become undead, their bodies have become very special. As long as they have enough energy and their bodies can fully bear it, they can even become a big fat man in one bite, directly raising their strength to a more terrifying level. As for what level they can reach in the end, it is somewhat related to their talents during their lifetime. If they were a piece of useless wood when they were alive, they will still be a useless piece of wood after they become undead. Even if their status as undead can change a lot of things for them, it cannot completely change their fate. The undead souls that Chen Luo currently possesses all have a lot of room for growth. As far as the undead soul masters are concerned, almost all of them can grow to the level of title Douluo. As for what level they will reach in the end, it depends on their respective talents. Period. Talent can be easily seen by comparing two dead soul masters, Weiliang Hao and Guangzhongyang. Obviously Guangzhongyang's talent is much higher than Weiliang Hao. Guangzhongyang will definitely be able to grow to the level of a title Douluo in the future, and so can Weiliang Hao, but Guangzhongyang's path will definitely be taken by Weiliang Hao farther. Level 91 is also a title Douluo, and Weiliang Hao's limit is estimated to be here. But Guangzhongyang is different. He has great potential and can reach the peak Douluo level. Maybe he can really change his destiny against the will of heaven, and eventually surpass the level of his eldest brother Guangzhongfei. The same is true for dead soul beasts, but compared to the word talent, perhaps the word bloodline is more appropriate for them. The bloodline in front of the dead soul beasts determines the limit to which they can grow after becoming undead. For example, the two-horned python can definitely grow to the level of a 10-year-old soul beast. Originally a crypt demon spider, the evolved hell demon spider that received the death badge also has certain potential to reach the level of a 10-year-old soul beast. But the king of earth and the ghost demon are very uncertain. Unless they have special encounters in the future, it will be difficult for them to reach the 10-year-old soul beast level. That probability is very low, just like the only human-faced demon spider who can become a 10-year-old soul beast is the purgatory spider Emperor Kylie. Kylie's soul beast was definitely a cheating existence throughout his life, and in the end, for the sake of power, he became less human and the soul beast less like a soul beast. In fact, the infernal spider king Kylie is already considered a relatively inspiring existence among the soul beasts. The man-faced spider's bloodline is just like that, and it is definitely the glory of the man-faced spider family to be able to reach the level of a 10-year-old soul beast. Period. The energy in the long sword condensed by the energy crystal was quickly distributed. All the undead souls received some energy, and their strength was also improved to a certain extent. When the energy distribution was completed, Weiliang Hao also happened to complete the breakthrough and successfully entered the control level. He also automatically condensed the 8th soul ring, which was also gray in color. Chapter 247 Draw the Sword. After the energy was distributed, the long sword condensed by the energy crystals returned to its transparent appearance. Moreover, cracks appeared at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally it shattered directly and turned into ordinary crystals, scattered on the ground, and completely lost its value. As Gong Zhongfei said, this energy crystal is a disposable product. Even if it changes into common shape later, it is still a disposable product and has no use after use. Chen Luo and the others had been mentally prepared for a long time, but when they saw the sword being destroyed under their own witness, they still felt somewhat reluctant in their hearts. Who knows that this thing is too powerful? If it can exist all the time, it can continuously and automatically absorb energy from the world. When the time comes, you can directly draw energy from it. Whether it is to enhance strength or replenish soul power, it is an excellent treasure. Regardless of the existence of this thing, it seems that there is an extra program out of thin air. Obviously he can absorb energy directly from heaven and earth, but he still has to go through an extra procedure through it. In fact, it is certainly not as simple as it seems on the surface. If you absorb energy directly from the sky and the earth, the efficiency will be slightly lower, and cannot be compared with the efficiency of absorbing energy directly from the energy crystal. On the surface, it seems that there is an extra program, but in fact, there is a missing program. The missing program is the program that guides energy. To absorb energy from heaven and earth, you need to guide the energy into your body, while what you absorb from energy crystals can be absorbed directly. Although you still need to guide, you only need to get started, and then energy will continue to flow into your body. And it also has the shape of a long sword, and it seems that it can also be used as a weapon, which is simply killing 3 birds with 1 stone. It's a pity that such a treasure can only be used once. Through the battle with the sword spirit sword demon, Guangzhongyang's strength has been improved and reached the control level. Harvesting the energy crystal of sword spirit sword demon, the energy in it helped Wei Liang Hao break through the shackles and successfully reach the control level. The other undead souls have all been improved to a certain extent, and even Xiao Wu's soul power level has been raised by 1 level. The rewards from coming to Sword Tomb are still relatively large, and this is just the beginning. Everyone simply adjusted and then moved on. For a long time after that, Chen Luo and the others did not meet any existence similar to Sword Spirit Sword Demon again. And the number of long swords around them increased again, and they seemed to have returned to the environment of the Sword Tomb when they first came. Are we back to square one again? Seeing that the surrounding environment became familiar again, Guangzhongyang couldn't help but ask questions. Arlene shook her head. No, we are still moving forward, it's just that the environment looks familiar. Sister Yu's voice formed a huge contrast with Arlene's petite and cute appearance, and resounded throughout the cave. After receiving Arlene's answer, Guangzhongyang no longer had any doubts. There is no doubt about the perception of the 9-tailed demon fox Aaron. In Guangzhongyang's view, even his powerful brother may not be able to match Aaron in terms of perception. Arlene said that she and others were not lost, that is, they were not lost. The short-term comfort did not make Chen Luo and others relax their vigilance. They always maintained a high level of alert, and each one was ready to fight at any time. Although the sword spirits and sword demons they had encountered before were all standing there, waiting for them to take the initiative to attack, they could not guarantee whether the special beings they encountered later would take the initiative to attack them. It's always good to be vigilant. The strength of the sword spirit and the sword demon can be seen. One is at the peak contra level, and the other is at the title Douluo level. Putting this level of strength outside, they are quite terrifying. It is estimated that only Wuhan Palace can achieve such a feat, but here it is like cannon fodder. As Chen Luo and his party continued to move forward, the familiar surroundings began to become unfamiliar again, and the smell of rust in the air became more and more intense, almost suffocating. If it weren't for the isolation of soul power, it would be difficult for Chen Luo and the others to move forward in such an environment. The number of long swords that had been increasing around them began to decrease again. This phenomenon undoubtedly made Chen Luo and the others feel familiar again. If Arlene hadn't been very sure that they had been moving forward, instead of returning to the original starting point and entering an infinite loop, they would have doubted whether they and others had entered a loop. Because both the environment and these strange phenomena were completely consistent with everything they had experienced before. There are still some differences in some details. If you carefully observe the long swords that are not around, you can find that all the long swords are different. Not many people can capture such details, and Chen Luo is barely one of them. Knowing this can't bring anything to myself and others. It can only confirm that I and others are indeed making continuous progress and have not entered an infinite loop. Because they had experienced sword spirit and sword demon before, the situation was very consistent with the current situation. The decrease of long swords immediately gave Chen Luo and others an early warning. If it can really match everything that has been experienced before, then danger will appear. However, after Chen Luo and the others walked forward for a while, they did not encounter any danger. At this time, all the long swords around them had disappeared, and the unpleasant smell of rust that filled the air was slowly dissipating. After a while, Chen Luo and the others stopped. At this time, they were already in an extremely open area. Directly in front of them, a long sword stood on the ground, with most of the sword body already submerged in the ground. There is nothing unusual about that long sword. The only distinctive feature is probably the rust covering the entire sword body. The exposed part of the long sword was completely covered with rust. The rust was a little red, and some places could even be described as blood red, as if blood was flowing. The reason why Chen Luo and the others stopped was because the long sword blocked their way. Of course, they can also choose to bypass the long sword and continue moving forward, but the appearance of the long sword is obviously not a simple existence. When encountering doubts, Chen Luo and the others once again focused their attention on Guang's Hongfei. Guang's Hongfei still looked calm, and slowly said, "Draw the sword." "Draw a sword." After getting Guang's Hongfei's answer, everyone was a little surprised, but they still did it. Guang's Hongfei was the first to bear the brunt and was the first to draw his sword. But no matter how hard Guang's Hongfei tried, he couldn't move the sword even one bit. Seeing this, everyone started to become serious. Chapter 248 All failed. Guang's Hongfei's strength is obvious to all. He just used a sword-breaking move to kill a group of titled Douluo-level sword demons in an instant. Now he is stumped by a long sword, which shows how extraordinary this long sword is. If Guang's Hongfei's power is not enough, others are also attack-type soul masters, even weapon soul masters. Because of the specialness of martial souls, their power cannot be compared with that of ordinary beast soul masters of the same level. After Guang's Hongfei failed to draw his sword, Xiao and others followed him. But without exception, everyone failed to draw their swords, leaving only the dead soul beast in Chen Luo. Of course, Heiju and Guang's Hongfei, who had been watching silently from behind, had not yet taken action. But it was obvious that neither of their two bosses were interested in the long sword, especially Guang's Hongfei, who had been to the sword tomb once. The nine-tailed demon fox Aaron has not yet taken action, and this is the time for Aaron to come on stage. Arlene came to the front of the rusty sword, and first entered that special fighting state. Her whole body was covered with the black energy, and nine tails exploded at once, which showed how serious Arlene was about the sword. After getting ready, Arlene immediately took action on the rusty sword. Holding the hilt of the rusty sword tightly with both hands, Arlene suddenly burst out with all the strength in her body. Even though Arlene looks petite and cute, she also looks extremely strong when she exerts her full strength. The black energy all over Arlene's body suddenly surged, and the nine tails behind her all stood up. Veins popped out in Arlene's small white hands, and her strength increased to the limit in an instant. However, Arlene still couldn't shake the rusty sword at all. After trying once, Arlene gave up. It's not that Arlene doesn't want to keep trying, but she can feel the stability of the rusty sword. If she can't pull it out, she just can't pull it out. Even if she tries 100 times, it's useless. Besides, it is not possible to use all the strength every time. As the saying goes, if you try hard in one go, it will fail again and again. If you don't succeed the first time, the hope after that will be even slimmer. Returning to Chen Luo, Arlene sighed and said with some disappointment, "Boss, I failed too." "Fine." Chen Luo comforted him with a smile, and then took a step forward. "It's my turn." Chen Luo walked towards the rusty sword. With every step he took, Chen Luo's aura would increase a bit, and all the death suits on his body would appear. When he came to the front of the rusty sword, his whole body was filled with excitement. Has entered the strongest state. Like Arlene, Chen Luo was well prepared before drawing his sword. In fact, everyone who drew the sword before was like this, but everyone failed. Chen Luo held the rusty sword tightly with both hands. There was not much strange feeling, but the touch on his hand was very obvious, just like holding on a rusty iron bar, which was slightly prickly. When he kept a certain distance from the rusty sword, Chen Luo didn't smell any special smell. When he came to the sword and reached out to hold the rusty sword, he immediately smelled a pungent and unpleasant smell. The smell of rust. The smell was like suddenly entering a corroded rust house, making it difficult to breathe for a while. These were all minor problems. Chen Luo quickly dealt with them and then began to draw his sword. My whole body began to exert force, but I just couldn't shake the rusty sword at all. This gave Chen Luo the feeling as if he had tied a rope to a large mountain and then tried to drag the mountain away. If he really just wanted to drag a mountain, maybe Chen Luo could really do it, but he really had no idea what to do with the rusty sword in front of him. Chen Luo breathed a long sigh of relief, and then sighed, I also failed. Chen Luo tried several times, but in the end they all failed and did not make any progress. Otherwise, he would definitely continue to work hard. Everyone has tried, now it's the turn of the dead soul beast. Chen Luo said. Just when Chen Luo wanted the hell demon spider to try it, Xiao Wu stood up and said, I haven't tried it yet. Chen Luo was slightly startled, okay, you go first. Xiao Wu did not get a chance to try before. As the weakest person in the team, Chen Luo subconsciously ignored Xiao Wu. They all failed, so how could Xiao Wu succeed? Under everyone's gaze, Xiao Wu went to draw the sword. She seemed to be able to bring everyone the last hope. However, the final result was also disappointing. Moreover, Xiao Wu was knocked away by the long sword and was not even qualified to draw the sword. When Xiao Wu held the sword with both hands, the invisible force pushed Xiao Wu away. Guang's Huangfei said calmly, I forgot to mention that you also need qualifications to draw a sword, and your strength must be at least soul saint. So Xiao Wu's drawing of the sword ended here, and she didn't bring any surprises to everyone. Everyone failed, so it came to the soul beast. The hell demon spider bore the brunt of the attack, but also failed. The king of earth followed closely behind, but also failed. Ghost demon, failed. The two-horned python slightly shook the sword, but failed in the end and was almost injured by the sudden burst of power from the sword. Don't ask how the soul beasts draw their swords. If they have claws, they use their claws. If they don't have claws, they just use their mouths. Whether it's a human being or a soul beast, the only one that has made any progress is the double-horned python. But judging from the situation of the double-horned python drawing the sword, it is still far away from being able to pull out the sword. If it is the double-horned python, it may be possible to be promoted to the level of a 10-year-old soul beast. The two-horned giant python only moved the sword slightly, and when he tried again, it was directly knocked away. The terrifying power almost sent the two-horned giant python away. Senior Gong's Hongfei, I can't pull out this sword. Can I skip this step and move on? There was really no choice but to go back and ask Gong's Hongfei. If they were persistent on something that could not be completed, it would be a complete waste of time. They might as well make use of all this time. If they were allowed to deal with sword spirit or the sword demon has probably already done another wave. Guang's Huangfei said calmly, what must be done cannot be skipped. You just saw the power from that sword. If we don't pull out the sword, even if we continue to move forward, we will end up back here, and we won't even be able to move forward. As he spoke, Guang's Huangfei swept forward, then stopped somewhere, stretched out his right hand forward, but it was as if he had touched a wall. Even if he burst out with bloody aura, he could not break through. Guang's Huangfei looked back at everyone. It's worse than entering a cycle and being unable to move forward. Chen Luo said, but it's really impossible to pull out the sword. Guang's Huangfei smiled indifferently, and then his eyes fell on Guang's Honggang. Whether it can be pulled out depends on whether the person is willing to pull it out. Chapter 249 Gong's Honggang's Choice. Everyone noticed where Gong's Hongfei was looking, and everyone's eyes shifted from Guang's Hongfei to Gong's Honggang. Guang's Honggang's face looked slightly ugly, but he still took the initiative to stand up. I can pull out that sword, but I don't want to. Don't want to. Everyone looked at Gong's Honggang with confusion. Only Gong's Hongfei looked calm and seemed to know everything. Gong's Honggang spoke slowly, if I pull out that sword, my demon-slaying sword will no longer be a pure demon-slaying sword. Brother, the reason why you have grown to such a terrifying level is probably because you drew your sword, right? Gong's Huangfei did not respond directly, but showed a faint smile. Gong's Honggang continued, this is the power of the sword tomb. If the person who comes here has a long sword, he can change the spirit by drawing the sword, and the spirit will still change. It's a long sword, But the quality will change, low quality will become high quality, and high quality will become top quality. But if the longsword martial soul you own is of top quality, then the changes after drawing the sword are uncertain, and it may become stronger. Maybe it will get weaker. In my heart, my demon-slaying sword will always be the best. Even my elder brother's demon-slaying sword and senior brother's 7-killing sword can't compare to my demon-slaying sword. That's why I don't want to draw my sword. My demon-slaying sword is already the strongest martial spirit. There is no need to draw the sword again. Guang's Huangfei smiled, a very pleased smile, but the things he said were just trivial things. How did you know about the sword tomb? Guang's Huangfei asked. Guang's Hongyang said, same as you, I overheard the conversation between master and a senior and learned that you are upstairs and I am downstairs. Haha, I see. Why have you never been to Sword Tomb and joined the evil soul master instead? Guang's Huangfei said with a smile. Guang's Hongyang said, I was very high-spirited at that time and felt that there was no need to come to the Sword Tomb. So the evil soul master is particularly suitable for you. Under everyone's gaze, the two brothers, Guang's Huangfei and Gong's Hongyang, got further and further apart. Finally, Chen Luo couldn't help but said, should we get rid of this sword first? Guang's Hongyang nodded immediately and then looked at Gong's Hongfei. Gong's Hongfei smiled slightly, just pull out the sword. When Gong's Hongyang heard this, his eyes suddenly narrowed, I just said a lot, was it in vain? Gong's Hongfei said, this sword is not that sword. Gong's Hongyang understood instantly, okay, I understand. Then Gong's Hongyang went to draw the sword again. With a very magnanimous look, he just drew the sword with one hand and pulled out the rusty long sword with great ease. The moment the rusty sword was pulled out by Gong's Hongyang, all the rust on the sword disappeared instantly, revealing an extremely delicate iron sword. However, the iron sword did not exist for long. In just a few seconds, it turned into a spot of light and completely dissipated. It was finally pulled out, and it's finally over. Gong's Hongyang sighed. Brother, you probably didn't draw your sword back then, right? Gong's Hongyang looked at Gong's Hongfei after seeing the rusty iron sword dissipate. Gong's Hongfei had a proud smile on his scarred face. I also think that my demon-slaying sword is the best martial spirit in the world. Ha 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 ha. Gong's Hongyang laughed. Gong's Hongfei also laughed. After the rusty sword was pulled out, Chen Luo and his group were no longer blocked. If it weren't for the fact that there was a pothole where the rusty sword originally was, it would be as if nothing happened. Everyone gained nothing from this, only Gong's Hongyang who pulled out the rusty sword gained a lot. What Gong's Hongyang gained was not substantial. The experience of drawing the sword only made him more determined on his future path. The group continued to move forward and soon encountered new difficulties. They are also special beings holding long swords, but they already have physical bodies and look the same as humans. However, each of them wears a black mask, making it impossible to see their faces clearly. Their strength is much stronger than that of the sword demon, and they have an aura that is close to that of a peak Douluo. There are 10 of them in total. Sword Master, a half-step peak Douluo, whose combat power is comparable to that of a peak Douluo. My advice to you is that it is best to act as a group and deal with it one by one. As soon as he saw the new target, Guang's Huangfei immediately spoke to remind Chen Luo and the others. They are fundamentally different from the previous sword spirits and sword demons. If sword spirits and sword demons both exist like souls, then sword masters are real people. Perhaps it is more appropriate to describe them as undead. We have entered their area. In 2 hours, all the sword masters will enter combat mode. There is not much time left for you. Damn it, brother, why didn't you tell me earlier so that we could be mentally prepared first? Guang's Hongyang rolled up his sleeves and was about to get started. Guang's Hongfei said calmly, don't you also know Giant's Hong very well? Brother, do you have a misunderstanding about the word understanding? I only heard a general idea. How can you, who has been to Sword Tomb, understand it? Guang's Hongyang said angrily with a slight twitch in the corner of his mouth. While Gong's Hongyang and Gong's Hongfei were complaining, everyone was already ready to fight. They had to get rid of as many sword masters as possible within 2 hours. Otherwise, when those sword masters acted together, they would have to let Black Curse and Gong's Hongfei take action, because it was impossible for them and others to deal with such a large number of sword masters. What a powerful being. But if Black Curse and Gong's Hongfei really take action, Even if he and others successfully overcome the difficulties, Jian Huang and his party can only be considered a failure this time. They can cheat, but not too much. Guang's Huangfei and he may symbolize invincibility. If they continue to rely on their power, then the sword tomb experience will be meaningless. Of course, this is just Chen Luo and the others putting pressure on themselves. Being hung up on something and not hanging on are completely different concepts. Without hanging on, you can only fight to the death, but if you are hanging on, you can give it a try. Just like dealing with sword spirits and sword demons before, the first step is to attract monsters. Attracting monsters requires skills. If you don't do it well, you will attract more targets and put huge pressure on the team. Guang's Honggang volunteered himself and went to attract the sword masters. He made a good decision, but in the end he still attracted 2 sword masters. Just when Gong's Honggang was still blaming himself, Guang's Huangfei said, "We only attracted 2 sword masters, didn't we start with 5? Guang's Honggang, Chen Luo and others. Good guy." After working for a long time, Guang's Huangfei actually concealed the information. The pressure brought by the nearly peaked Douluo sword master to Chen Luo and others was quite great. If they dealt with one of them collectively, it would be very easy, but dealing with 2 would be a bit difficult. Li Feng and Bian Lu had to hold off one of them, while the remaining one had to be handed over to Chen Luo and others. The team battle has officially begun. Chapter 250. Anan controlled Li Feng and Bian Lu, a titled Douluo couple, to face a sword master, while Chen Luo and others faced another sword master. The battlefield was divided into 2 parts, and both were fought almost at the same time. Li Feng and Bian Lu immediately opened the Demon Abyss. If they didn't open the Demon Abyss, it would be difficult for them to defeat the sword master. After opening the Demon Abyss, Li Feng and Bian Lu's combat effectiveness increased by more than 1 level. As long as they were given a certain amount of time, it was not impossible to take down the sword master. Li Feng and Bian Lu, the couple who opened the Demon Abyss in front of them, had the strength equivalent to peak Douluo. Now that they have become undead, their fighting power will only become stronger, and they will not be affected by various negative effects of the Demon Abyss. You can rest assured. Use this extremely powerful martial soul fusion skill. The strength of the sword master has reached a certain level, and the battle is destined to not end for a while. After Li Feng and Bian Lu activate the martial soul fusion skill Moen, even if their combat power is equivalent to that of a peak Douluo, they cannot immediately defeat the sword master. Period. On the other side, Chen Luo and the others cooperated extremely well. While Xiao, a contra-level stone giant, had already activated his martial spirit avatar and stood at the front of the team. Along with him, there was a 2-horned giant with a strength equivalent to 9 years. Python, it is most suitable for the 2 of them to be in the front row. In fact, the Hell Demon Spider also wanted to rush to the front, but Chen Luo didn't allow it. The Hell Demon Spider was not strong enough to fight the Sword Master, who was almost at the peak Douluo level. Not only the Hell Demon Spider, but also the Earth King and the Ghost Demon were given orders to be on standby. Together with Xiao Wu, they stayed with Gong's Hongfei and Blackers. After all, this is a real battle and not a game. If you die, you will really die. If the Hell Demon Spider and the others are used as cannon fodder, the price is too high and it is really unnecessary. If Wei Liangheo's level had not been upgraded to Contra, Chen Luo would not have let Wei Liangheo rise to the top. It would be the stupidest thing to do needlessly. The front row is there, and then there's the output position. The 9-tailed demon fox Erin must be in the output position. Her combat power is still very fierce. Even if her strongest illusion technique fails to work, she still has a close combat ability at the level of a titled Douluo. Next is Gong's Honggang. Gong's Honggang has just been promoted to Soul Douluo, and his combat power has been greatly improved. He has just shown to everyone that he killed several titled Douluo level sword demons with one sword. The existence of Gong's Honggang has natural restrained, and Gong's Honggang's strength cannot be ignored. Now facing the sword master, Guang's Huangfei has just said that both the sword spirit and the sword demon can be regarded as soul bodies, but the sword master is a real undead spirit. Those skills that can cause huge damage to the soul body are used in the effect on Juggernaut may not be that good. Even so, Guang's Honggang is still the second echelon of output. Chen Luo also counts himself in the second echelon of output. He is relatively confident in his own strength. Then came the third echelon of output, Yu, who is at the Contra level, and Duan Xiao, who is also at the Contra level. Compared with Gong's Honggang, Yu and Duan Xiao's strength is more than 1.5 stars lower. When Gong's Honggang was soul sained, he had the strength to fight with him. Now Gong's Honggang has been promoted to soul Douluo. They are no longer on the same level. Sometimes talent is really important, not just for cultivation, but also for fighting. When approaching the juggernaut, Chen Luo had already arranged his position. As for tactics, he had to use them freely. Remote output, no, they can almost all be used as remote output, as long as you grasp the timing well. The battle is imminent. Arlin's combat power did not disappoint Chen Luo, and she was able to restrain the sword master with great ease. Arlene, whose whole body was covered in black energy, directly activated her 9 tails, which shows that she attaches great importance to fighting. With her 9 tails activated, Arlene not only has a huge improvement in strength and speed, but also has more and more flexible ways to attack. The 9 tails behind her can also help her attack together, and they are quite powerful. Just like her extra arms, there is no sense of inconsistency in using them. Arlene and the Juggernaut were fighting together, while Gong's Honggang and the others were looking for opportunities to deal damage. Kyang! 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 The Sword Master's attacks are the same as those of the previous Sword Spirit and Sword Demon. They mainly focus on close combat, and the proficiency with the sword is 1 level higher than that of the Sword Demon. The Sword Master can control the long sword with great precision to attack at any angle he wants. Sometimes the Sword Master's attacks are very direct and come towards you, but sometimes they are extremely cunning and vicious, catching people off guard and giving people the impression of standing on the sword. It felt like there were holes all over my body in front of the Holy Spirit. After all, Erin was a melee output point, not the front row. After a fight with the Sword Master, she handed over the heavy responsibility of defense to Wei Liang Hao on the 2-horned python. Neither Wei Liang Hao nor the double-horned python disappointed everyone. After Wei Liang Hao was promoted to the Contra level, his defense power became even more amazing, and his control over stones became even more perfect. He could defend the Sword Master 360 degrees without any blind spots various attacks. There is no doubt about the strength and speed of the Juggernaut's attacks. You can clearly see that every time the Juggernaut's sword falls, there will be a deep sword mark on the stone layer on Wei Liang Hao's body, but Wei Liang Hao's recovery ability is not a cover. Yes, it can quickly recover from injuries, and it can also transform into existences such as stone shields to resist the Sword Master's attacks. Wei Liang Hao, who was clearly only at the Contra level, was able to withstand the Sword Master who was almost at the peak Douluo level. Of course, this is mainly due to the fact that the Sword Master did not use amplified moves. If the Sword Master used his skills, Wei Liang Hao would be choked, and he might even die suddenly on the spot. Never underestimate the combat power of a peak Douluo level. Naturally, Wei Liang Hao's sudden death will not happen. This is a team battle after all. If Wei Liang Hao cannot withstand it, Arlene or others will immediately take over. If Wei Liang Hao fights against the Juggernaut alone, then the only option is to be beaten passively and wait for death to come. The 2-horned giant python was originally used as a front row, but after it was mounted on top, it did not play the role of the front row. Instead, it became an output point. The Juggernaut's attention is basically focused on Wei Liang Hao, and he seldom pays attention to the double-horned python. The double-horned python cannot bear the damage of the Sword Master. The double-horned python is not good at defense. From its previous, it can be seen from the battle with the Sword Demon that the main reason for letting it be in the front row is to take advantage of its size. The 2-horned python's attack methods are not only the most basic snake bites, strangulation or whipping, it can condense energy balls to attack the Sword Master. The power seems not bad, and it can cause certain damage to the Sword Master, but wanting to use this to kill the Sword Master is somewhat of a fantasy. Soon the battle situation on Chen Luo's side turned into Wei Liang Hao holding on to the Juggernaut's hatred and using his own strong defense to resist the Juggernaut's attack. Others look for opportunities to export, and everything falls into place. Until, Li Feng and Bian Lu suddenly erupted with thunder. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.